8 months old. I had survived 8 whole months in this world. And in that time I had accomplished many great things. For starters, I could now sit up on my own. A major victory. No more awkwardly toppling over like an unbalanced sack of flour. Second, I could crawl. Slowly, clumsily, and with the grace of a drunken turtle, but still, movement was movement. And most importantly, I could eat now. Nanny had started feeding me baby food, and let me tell you, it was heaven. Sweet, mushy, glorious food. I had never experienced such luxury in my previous life. Life was good. Or at least it was supposed to be. But no, peace was a fleeting illusion in my luxurious yet perilous existence. Why, you ask? Because my so-called loving papa had recently introduced a dreadful concept to my royal routine. Training time. Yes, you heard me correctly. But before you get any wild ideas, no, this was not a situation where papa handed me a tiny sword and declared, "Go forth, my daughter. Fight for your honor." Thank goodness. I would have simply perished. No, instead, my cruel and merciless father had decided that I, an innocent, helpless baby, needed to build strength and endurance. That's right, you heard right. I was being tortured. I had no say in this. None. And so, every morning I found myself placed on the softest yet most insulting of mats, forced to wiggle about like an abandoned caterpillar while my beloved pacifier was kept just out of reach. Phew. Unforgivable. Tyrannical. But today was different. I had discovered the power of movement and I was going to use it. Okay, let's do it. With sheer determination, I wobbled onto my hands and knees. My pacifier, my golden, most treasured possession, lay just inches away. I could do this. I can do this. One shuffle forward. Good. Another. Even better. I was getting closer. Almost. Damn it. My tiny body flopped over, my face landing unceremoniously onto the mat. Trail. Papa, who had been watching from his seat near the fireplace, exhaled a long-suffering sigh. She needs more training. With little effort he lifted me into his arms and, oh sweet relief, finally gave me my pacifier. I latched onto it with the desperation of a warrior retrieving their lost sword. "She is doing great, Your Highness," Theon, ever the loyal subject, chimed in from the side. Papa, however, was unmoved. He plopped down onto his chair, placing me securely onto his lap, my rightful throne. His large hand rested securely on my back, keeping me steady as I instinctively grabbed onto his robe, my tiny fingers curling into the fine fabric. "No, she needs to walk by next month." Excuse me? What kind of unreasonable demand? Why would he? And then it hit me. There was only one person to blame for this madness. Grand Duke Regis. That insufferable man had the audacity to mention in last week's court meeting that his son, Osric, the little overachiever, had started walking at 8 months old. And suddenly Papa decided that I must also walk by next month. The moment I find this Osric, I will challenge him to a duel. Or at least a very intense staring contest. For now, I simply sighed into my pacifier and accepted my fate. A princess's life was never easy. But that wasn't the only thing I had discovered. Oh no. I had also uncovered something shocking. Something monumental. My papa's past. Now you'd think that someone as terrifyingly powerful as my father, the literal emperor, would have a grand, heroic backstory. Maybe he was born with divine blessings. Maybe he was raised by dragons. Maybe he emerged fully grown from a lightning bolt, sword in hand, ready to conquer the world. Nope. Not even close. Turns out Papa's childhood was horrible. And by horrible I mean who let these people live for so long level of horrible. Apparently my father was the son of the former empress, who tragically died giving birth to him. And because the previous emperor was, to put it politely, a trash goblin in human form, he blamed my poor Papa for her death. Did he grieve? Did he comfort his newborn son? No. He abandoned him. Papa was sent away to a cold, lonely palace with only one maid to care for him. His birth wasn't even announced. No celebrations, no royal welcome, just congratulations, you exist. Now suffer. And suffer he did. Whenever the previous emperor got angry or drunk, which from what I heard was often, he'd stomp over to Papa's cold little palace just to beat him up. Yes. You heard me. The emperor of the empire treated his own child like a stress relief punching bag. But wait, it gets worse. That garbage emperor went and married another woman, making her the new empress. And did she become a kind, loving stepmother? Of course not. She was even worse. He poisoned Papa. She sent assassins after him. He probably cackled like a cartoon villain while doing it. And because evil is apparently hereditary, her children, Papa's half-siblings, joined in on the fun. Assassination attempts, poisoning, straight-up medieval torture. It was basically a royal horror movie. I sucked harder on my pacifier, feeling an unfamiliar yet very intense rage bubbling inside me. These people. These disgusting, worthless, unwashed pieces of rotten cabbage. How dare they? If those bastards were still alive, I would personally chop them up and deep fry them. With extra seasoning. And then feed them to the dogs. But alas, I was too late. Because eventually someone found out about Papa's suffering. The previous Grand Duke Regis. Yes. That Regis's father. And the moment he learned about it, he swooped in, grabbed my half-dead Papa and went, "Nope. This one's mine now." And just like that, my father, cold, terrifying, and incredibly overpowered, was raised by Grand Duke Regis. Which suddenly explained a lot. That's why Papa and the current Grand Duke acted like chaotic war buddies. That's why Regis was the only person in the Empire who didn't look like he was about to pass out from fear whenever Papa entered the room. They grew up together. They trained together. And when the time was right, Papa returned. With the help of the Grand Duke, he wiped out his entire disgusting, traitorous family and took the throne. And that, dear audience, also explained why Papa supported Osric over his own daughter in the novel. After the novel's version of me was dismissed from the royal family, Papa announced Osric as the heir to the throne. Of course, Osric, the great main lead, refused at first because he was all noble and righteous or whatever, but the nobles convinced him. And in the end, the very day the princess, was poisoned by the second main lead, Osric was announced as crown prince. How poetic. What a tragic way to die, seriously. Forget that. I stared at my father. The same man who now held me securely in his arms, his expression unreadable as he gently adjusted my position so I wouldn't fall. To the world, he was an emperor feared by many, a ruler whose mere gaze could send armies trembling. But right now, all I could see was the warmth in the way he held me. The silent, unspoken care in the way his fingers lightly tapped my back, as if making sure I was still there. His past was a mess. A steaming pile of what the actual hell. And yet here he was still standing. To the world, he was an untouchable emperor. A ruthless, bloodthirsty ruler. A monster. But to me, he was Papa. And if anyone ever tried to hurt him again, I would bite them. Hard. I was still deep in my righteous fury, mentally sharpening my tiny baby teeth for battle when I felt my father's gaze on me. I blinked up at him. He stared back, his crimson eyes sharp and unreadable. For a moment there was silence. Then, because I am a charming and adorable princess, I did what any loving daughter would do. I smiled. Big, white, innocent, sweet, beautiful smile. Maybe even a little drool. Just for extra effect. Papa's expression didn't change. Instead, without a single warning, he lifted me high into the air. My legs dangled helplessly as my tiny hands flailed, and I barely had time to register my predicament before he spoke, his voice calm, firm, and utterly merciless. "Let's try to walk again." Ha. Ha ha. Ha. It looks like Papa was definitely going to kill me. Come on. I wiggled in the air, flailing my tiny legs dramatically. Did he not see how exhausted I was? Did he not see the sweat, the sheer effort, and the emotional turmoil I had endured today? I had crawled. I had flopped. I had stared into the abyss being my father's unreadable gaze. And now he wanted me to walk? Papa, please. Just give me time. Oh, my princess. Do you feel tired? Nanny held me in her arms, warm and loving as always. Of course I'm tired, Nanny. My tiny bones are screaming. My little muscles are begging for mercy. I don't know why Papa is so determined to make me walk so soon, but the man is on a full intensity mode. Now I understand why they call him bloodthirsty. Come on. Who puts an 8-month-old through cruel training? Whatever. Thinking takes too much energy too. Right now I have one priority. Hunger. Nanny, feed me. I want apple pudding. I wiggled, kicking my arms and legs. Oh, princess, are you hungry? I wiggled in her arms. Yes. Apple pudding. Get me apple pudding. She smiled knowingly and placed me in my crib. I'll get you your favorite apple pudding, okay? That's my nanny. She always gets me what I want. But then she paused and glanced around. I wonder where Marilla is? I wonder too. She was here with us, then someone came in earlier and said she was summoned by the head maid. But it's been more than an hour though. Suspicious? Maybe. Do I care? Not at the moment. Nanny's gaze landed on someone standing near the corner of the room. A maid. A new one apparently. Are you a new maid? Nanny asked, tilting her head. The maid stood stiffly, nodding. Yes. She must be new. Haven't seen her before. Also, when did she even get in here? Nanny smiled, oblivious to my growing suspicion. Please take care of the princess until I get her food. The maid nodded again. A little too quickly. Nanny turned to me with her warm, reassuring smile. I'll be back soon, my princess. Then she left. And I was alone. With the weird maid. No big deal. I'm a princess. I have guards. I have power. Wait. Why is she just standing there? And why are her eyes locked on me like that? This was weird. I blink at her. She blinked back. All right. Maybe she's just socially awkward. It happens. But I felt abandoned. Fine. Maybe that was a little dramatic. But could you blame me? Nanny had just left to fetch my food. Even Marilla was missing. The maids I knew were nowhere to be seen. Papa and Theon were in some royal business meeting. And so, for the first time in my royal baby life, I was alone. Completely, utterly alone in my nursing room. Oh wait, I had this weird maid here. But what's the use of her? She was just standing far away, stiff as a board, avoiding eye contact, looking around. So practically I was alone. Which at first was great. For one, I had complete and unrestricted access to my toys. Normally, Nanny would intervene before I could attempt to chew the wooden blocks, a very important part of my scientific research. But now there was no one to stop me. I was just about to launch a full-scale oral investigation on my favorite stuffed rabbit when suddenly, I heard footsteps approaching. I turned and saw the same weird maid walking toward me slowly, looking around suspiciously. Oh, looks like she's trying to socialize. Wait, she's hiding something behind her. She walked closer. Slower. More suspicious. And that was when I saw it, gleaming silver, hidden behind her skirts. A knife. A real, actual stabby knife. I wasn't the brightest baby in the empire, but even I knew what this meant. My tiny fingers trembled around my stuffed rabbit. My heart pounded, no, thundered, against my ribs. Was this what true fear felt like? Cold and suffocating, like a ghostly hand pressing against my chest, squeezing tighter and tighter until I couldn't breathe? I couldn't move. He was still coming. The world shrank, closing in around me. The walls of my nursing room, once safe, warm, now felt like a cage. My vision blurred, my breath came in shallow gasps. The candlelight flickered against the gleam of the knife, turning it into a sliver of death approaching me inch by inch. I refused to die. Not like this. Not in the cold silence of my nursery, not before I even learned how to walk. I wanted to scream, but my throat had closed up, strangled by terror. My body felt too small, too helpless, too weak. I was just a baby. A baby. Who the hell tries to assassinate a baby? But the murderous glint in her eyes told me this was real. That knife. The deadly intent dripping from her every movement. This wasn't a nightmare. It was my death approaching me. Slow, deliberate, inevitable. My little helpless body instinctively stood up, wobbling slightly as I clutched the edge of my crib. My tiny hands gripped the wooden railing, my knuckles turning white. I wanted my papa. I wanted Theon. I wanted someone, anyone, to come crashing through that door and rip this woman away from me. But the room remained silent. No savior. No guardian. No mercy. She stopped before me, her eyes gleaming with pure hatred. A hatred I didn't understand. A hatred so intense it made my stomach churn. It's you who killed my family first, she whispered, her voice trembling with rage. You do not deserve to live too. The knife rose. My breath hitched. My fingers dug into the crib's edge. Was this it? Was this my end? I was supposed to die painlessly, poisoned, that's how it was meant to be. But this was cruel, brutal, wrong. The blade gleamed in the candlelight as it came down. Schlick. A sharp gasp. The maid's body jolted. And then blood. Warm. Sticky. Spattering across my cheeks, my tiny hands, my clothes. The sharp, metallic scent flooded my nose. Her knife slipped from her grip, clattering uselessly onto the floor. Her mouth opened but no sound came. Behind her a tall, shadowed figure loomed. Unforgiving. Terrifying. The sword buried in her back twisted once before it was wrenched free, and the woman crumpled to the ground, lifeless. I stared at her corpse, my breath coming in shallow gasps, my body trembling, my mind failing to catch up to what had just happened. And then, I looked up. Emperor Cassius, my father, stood over the fallen woman, his crimson eyes colder than ice, his blade dripping red. Disgusting, he muttered, flicking the blood off his sword. And then his gaze landed on me. His daughter. His blood-soaked, trembling daughter. For the first time since my rebirth, I saw something unfamiliar in his expression. Rage. But not directed at me. At the world that dared to harm me. Papa crouched down, his sword still glistening with fresh blood, and pulled me into his arms. His heavy cloak engulfed my tiny body as he wiped the blood from my cheeks with a gentleness that felt unreal. I was still frozen. My tiny fingers trembled as they clutched at his dark fabric, my breath uneven, my mind spinning. I should feel safe. I should feel relieved. But I didn't. Not yet. His big calloused hand cupped my cheek, checking me. His crimson eyes, once cold and terrifying, softened. You're safe, my girl. You're safe. Safe? I blinked up at him. My gaze flickered to the maid's body, lifeless and still, blood pooling beneath her. The knife that was meant for me lay just inches from my crib. A shudder racked my tiny frame. The terror I had felt, the helplessness, the crushing fear of death, came crashing down on me all at once. And I broke. Wah-ha-hi, wah-ha. A sob tore from my throat, sharp and raw. Then another. And another. Until I was wailing, burying my face into my papa's chest, clinging on to him as if he were the only thing keeping me from falling apart. I didn't care if I looked weak. I didn't care if I was supposed to be a reincarnated soul. I was just a baby. And I had almost died. Papa didn't say anything. He didn't even move. He didn't push me away. Instead, his arms tightened around me. Warm, strong, unyielding. His large hand cradled the back of my head, shielding me from the gruesome sight behind us. His deep, steady breaths contrasted with my erratic sobs, grounding me, pulling me back from the suffocating fear. It's over, he murmured, his voice no longer the Emperor's, no longer cold, no longer ruthless. No one will ever hurt you again, I promise. I sobbed harder, tiny hands gripping his cloak like my life depended on it. He let me cry and shake, let me soak his clothes with my tears, let me be a frightened child in his arms. Then the door burst open. Nanny, Marilla, Theon and a group of guards stormed in, weapons drawn, their eyes scanning the room for danger. But the moment they saw the scene before them, the lifeless maid, the blood splattered across the floor and me trembling in my father's arms, they all froze. Silence. I hiccuped, my small body still shaking, but the worst of my sobs had faded into quiet whimpers. Strained. Exhausted. Papa looked down at me, his crimson eyes unreadable. Then, with a gentleness that seemed almost foreign on him, he wiped away the last of my tears with his thumb. And then his entire demeanor shifted. He didn't even turn his gaze toward Theon, but his voice was sharp as a blade. Theon. Theon stiffened immediately. Why, yes, your majesty? Gather everyone in the palace. Immediately. A deadly pause. Then, how dare they leave my child alone in a room? The air in the room turned frigid. The guards stiffened. Theon paled. And just like that, chaos was about to descend upon the palace. The room was really, really quiet. Like the kind of quiet before something very, very bad happens. Thick, suffocating and etched with fear. I clung to Papa's chest, still hiccuping from my very justified meltdown earlier. My tiny fingers curled into his clothes and I pressed my face against him. His heart was beating fast. Or maybe that was mine. I didn't know. All I knew was that everyone in the room looked like they were about to cry or throw up. And honestly, Papa was scary. Like, I knew he was always kinda scary, but this was different. His crimson eyes weren't just cold. They burned. Like if he looked at someone long enough, they'd just drop dead on the spot. And these people? The maids, the guards, even Nanny and Marilla? All of them were kneeling, heads down, shoulders stiff, like they knew death was already breathing down their necks. Papa still had his sword out. Right. There was blood on it. My stomach twisted. That was from earlier. From when he saved me. When that lady, when she... I squeezed my eyes shut. Nope, I was not thinking about that right now. I focused on Papa instead. His grip on me was tight, like he was scared I'd vanish if he let go. Which was ridiculous because I wasn't going anywhere. My legs were wobbly and my eyes were still all puffy from crying. Theon stood beside Papa, not saying anything because he knew everything was messed up. But one thing I didn't like was Nanny and Marilla kneeling too. Papa took a slow breath, his eyes still burning with anger. "Raise your heads," he said, his voice cold and ruthless. No one moved. Or should I say no one dared. I won't repeat myself. Everyone obeyed. Heads lifted, but no one dared to look into Papa's eyes. Except for Nanny. She didn't move. He was trembling. Not like the others. Not like the maids who were scared for their jobs or the guards who were scared for their heads. This was different. She wasn't even raising her head. And I knew why, because today I almost died. And it must have made her remember her dead child, the one she lost in a fire. I knew she must be feeling useless. She couldn't even protect me. She must be thinking she failed again. But she doesn't know that I understand everything. I know my Nanny more than anyone in this room. I saw her hands tremble whenever she held me close. I saw her standing outside Papa's office even though her foot hurt. I saw the sadness in her eyes when she fed me. Sometimes I even heard her crying when she thought I was asleep. Her baby died. And today I almost did too. That must have brought back all the pain she tried to bury inside her. And then Papa took a step forward. The sound of his boots hitting the marble was loud in the silence. Another step. Then another. I tightened my grip on his cloak. He stopped right in front of her. The tip of his sword glinted near her bent head. "Narina." His voice was cold. "Do you not hear me?" Nanny flinched but didn't move. Everyone held their breath. And I didn't like this. I squirmed in Papa's arms, but he didn't notice. His crimson eyes were still burning, still filled with rage. "He won't spare anyone today. Nanny, please. Just lift your head. Please." But she didn't, and I was scared. I felt something tight in my chest. I didn't like this. I didn't like this at all. I have to do something. I have to save my Nanny. I wiggled in his arms, harder this time. "Ooh, Gaga. You cannot kill my Nanny, Papa. You cannot." I kicked my legs. But nothing was happening. Papa wasn't even looking at me, and now I am scared too much. I cannot lose my Nanny. Never. And then... What? I cried. Loud. The room froze. Papa froze. The anger, the sharpness. It scared me. It made my sobs come harder. His sword didn't move, but something flickered in his eyes. He came back to senses. Then Theon hesitated before stepping forward. "Your Majesty," he said carefully, "the princess has already seen something horrible. You should drop the sword." Papa clenched his jaw. Then slowly, reluctantly, he lowered the sword to the ground. His arms tightened around me and he held me with both hands, trying to calm me. "I won't do anything." I hiccuped. He wiped my tears. "It's all right now." The room was silent except for my sniffles. Then Papa turned to Nanny. His voice was still cold but quieter now. "Narina. Look at me." Nanny flinched but finally, slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were filled with pain, like she was holding all the tears. Papa exhaled, his gaze still unreadable. "You have responsibilities, Narina. My daughter has cried too much. She needs something. Get it." Nanny's breath hitched. Then she scrambled to her feet, almost tripping in her haste. She disappeared for a moment before returning with the milk she had gone to get before all of this happened. But then she hesitated. He just stared at me. She didn't reach for me. Her hands trembled as she held the milk bottle, unsure, unwilling to hold me. I didn't like that. I stretched out my arms toward her. She still didn't move. I reached further, my tiny fingers grabbing the fabric of her dress, pulling her closer. Her lips parted, and for a moment I thought she wouldn't take me. But then she reached out, carefully, hesitantly. Her hands shook as she took me from Papa's arms. I curled into her warmth. She held me close, pressing soft kisses against my hair, her body trembling with quiet sobs. Tears slipped down her face. She wiped them away quickly. Then, swallowing back her emotions, she gently brought the bottle to my lips and fed me. I drank. Because this was warmth. After almost dying, a baby always needs something warm, like a mother's embrace. And Nanny was a mother to me. I never knew what a mother's love felt like. Not in my last life. Not in this one. But after Nanny came into my life, I finally understood. Mother's love wasn't just about giving birth. It was the way Nanny always held me close, how she wiped my tears before her own, how she never let go, even when her own heart was breaking. Slowly the weight in the room lifted. Papa said nothing. No one said anything. But that didn't mean it was over. I saved Nanny. But I couldn't save everyone. I cannot save everyone because today I almost died in my own home, at my own palace, at my own nursing room. And this is not something that we can just let go of. This is serious. The Imperial Palace, my home, was supposed to be the safest place in the Empire. Its security was too tight, too impenetrable. No one could just walk in, wield a knife, and attack the Imperial Princess for fun. Which meant someone had helped that maid get inside. Someone wanted me dead. Papa turned back to the gathered servants and guards, his crimson eyes gleaming with cold fury. He didn't need his sword to show how powerful he was. His presence alone was enough. The air felt heavy, suffocating. Like the walls themselves were pressing down, trapping everyone in his wrath. The guards stiffened, their hands trembling at their sides. The maids, the footmen, the attendants. None of them dared to breathe too loudly. Some had their heads bowed so low that their foreheads nearly touched the floor. But Papa was not moved by their fear. Who? His voice was quiet, deadly. Let a traitor into my palace? No one answered. Papa took a step forward. Silence. Another step. A maid whimpered. A guard clenched his jaw so hard it looked like his teeth would crack. Papa scoffed. No one knows. His voice was soft. Almost amused. It was terrifying. Then tell me, he continued, slowly lifting a hand. Not to draw a weapon. He didn't need one. Should I have you all executed? Since none of you seem to be aware of your own duties. A few gasps slipped through the crowd. I could feel the tension thickening, pressing against my skin. I was busy drinking my milk, not caring. Because why should I? I almost died. Someone had helped that maid, the traitor. They weren't nice to me, so why should I care about them? Am I turning like Papa? But Papa's focus remained on the trembling bodies before him. Someone in this palace betrayed me. His voice turned sharp, slicing through the silence like a blade. Betrayed the Empire. So tell me who did it before I execute every single one of you with my own 2 hands. No one spoke. I think they really had no wish to live. I mean, if you want to live, spit those words. Then Thien stepped forward and bowed in front of Papa. Your Majesty, with your permission, allow me to question them. We need to know what really happened. Why was the princess left alone in her room? That was smart. Thien was really smart. That was the biggest question. No one dared to leave the Imperial Princess alone. And if they did, then there had to be a reason. What could have happened? Papa moved again. His boots struck the floor with slow, deliberate steps, the sound ringing in the heavy silence. Each step sent a shiver through the room, a weight pressing down on everyone present. Marilla flinched, kneeling as if the ground beneath her had suddenly turned to ice. Her hands twisted in the fabric of her skirt, knuckles pale. Papa stopped in front of her. The air grew even tighter. Why did you leave the princess's side? His voice was quiet, but it cut like a knife through the heavy silence. Marilla trembled, bowing lower. Why, Your Majesty? I didn't mean to. A maid came to me. She said the head maid needed me urgently. Papa did not react. His eyes bore down on her, unblinking, sharp as the blade that had nearly taken my life. Marilla swallowed, her voice breaking. I thought it was important, so I went. But when I reached her chambers, the head maid told me she never sent for me. Silence. My lord, one of the guards stammered, stepping forward cautiously. His hands were shaking as he lowered his head. The same thing happened to me. A knight came and told me the captain needed to see me, but when I found him, he said he never summoned anyone. Another voice, higher pitched, whispered, Me too. I was sent away by a different maid. But the head maid swore she never called for me. I was sent away too. Another spoke up. Then another. And another. One by one the voices of the palace staff rose, their fear tightening the room even further. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't just carelessness. It was a plan. A carefully laid out scheme to leave me alone. To leave me vulnerable. So I could die. I stopped drinking. The warmth of the milk sat heavy in my belly, but my little hands tightened around the bottle. I knew the weight in the room had changed. Everyone did. Papa's presence was suffocating. His crimson eyes burned like the sun, but his anger was ice, sharp enough to freeze the air itself. His jaw clenched. The Theon. A single name. A single command. Theon stood even straighter. Your Majesty. Papa's voice was quiet, but every syllable struck with the finality of death. Find them. Before dawn. A shiver ran through the room. No one spoke, but everyone knew the truth. Attempting to kill an imperial princess was not a crime one simply walked away from. It was treason. Theon bowed. It will be done, Your Majesty. Papa turned his crimson eyes onto the trembling group of maids and guards before him. Until then, he said slowly, dangerously, lock everyone in the dungeons. Make sure no one escapes. Marilla let out a quiet gasp, her face pale as she was dragged away. So were the guards, the other maids. No one dared to struggle. Even if they were innocent, they understood. This was bigger than all of them. This wasn't a matter that could simply be forgiven. Papa stood still as they were taken away, watching until the last of them disappeared. Then when the doors groaned shut, when the only ones left were Nanny, Theon, and us, he finally turned. His eyes landed on me. His gaze, still fierce and dangerous, softened. Just a little. Is she done? He asked. Nanny, who had been holding me close, wiped the last drop of milk from my lips and nodded. Yes. Papa reached out. His fingers, still tinged red with another's blood, touched my cheek. It was gentle. Warm. I blinked up at him. He was still angry. He was still furious. I could feel it radiating from him like a wildfire, his rage barely contained beneath his skin. Papa didn't say a word as he carried me out of the terrifying room, his arms firm and unyielding. The scent of iron clung to him, the scent of blood. But his warmth surrounded me, shielding me from the cold emptiness the palace now held. There were no servants. No guards. Just us. Theon walked silently behind, his steps purposeful. Nanny followed as well, her face drawn with worry, but she said nothing. Papa moved through the empty halls with long, powerful strides, his grip on me unwavering. His body was tense, every muscle coiled tight with anger, with fury, with something deeper, something I didn't yet have the words to name. We entered his chambers. The doors shut behind us with a soft thud, sealing us inside. Theon stayed near the door, standing guard. Nanny lingered at the edge of the room, uncertain. Papa didn't stop. He walked to his massive bed and sat down, lowering me carefully onto the silk sheets. Then without hesitation he removed his blood-stained cloak and tossed it aside. For a long moment he simply stared at me. His crimson eyes, still burning, swept over my tiny form. Over my little hands, my round cheeks, and my small fingers that still clutched the blanket. I blinked up at him. The silence stretched. Then, a deep, shaky breath. Papa reached out again, cupping my cheek with his large, battle-worn hand. His thumb brushed against my skin, slow, deliberate. He exhaled, and this time it sounded almost exhausted. Almost pained. You were almost taken from me today. His voice was quiet. Not the sharp, cutting tone from before. Not the Emperor's voice. Just his voice. Soft. Rough around the edges. Heavy with something unspoken. I didn't understand all of it. But I understood enough. He was scared. Not for himself. Not for the palace. For me. I reached out, my tiny fingers curling around one of his. He stiffened for a moment, staring at the small, fragile hand holding his. Then something shifted. Papa let out a slow breath, his shoulders loosening ever so slightly. His large hand turned, his fingers wrapping around mine. They engulfed my little hand completely, warm and strong. He held it there. Silent. Moving. As if grounding himself. As if reminding himself that I was still here. I cooed softly, squeezing his hand in my tiny grip. His lips parted slightly, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, carefully he leaned down. And pressed a kiss to my forehead. Warm. Lingering. Proactive. He pulled back, resting his forehead lightly against mine, closing his eyes for a brief moment. I won't let this happen again, he murmured. His promise was absolute. His fury had not faded. His vengeance would not waver. But for now, in this moment, it was just us. I didn't know what happened after that because after all that crying I slept. Slept like the dead. And when I woke up it was already dawn. Now I was here. The throne room was silent, thick with tension. I sat on Papa's lap, nestled against him as if I belonged there, which I obviously do. In front of us, two maids trembled, their foreheads pressed against the cold marble floor. Their bodies shook and their breaths came in sharp, panicked gasps. Papa's fingers rested idly against the armrest of his throne, his other hand settled against my back. He was calm. Too calm. And everyone knew what that meant. Thien stood rigid at his side. Grand Duke Regis, expression blank, rested a hand on the hilt of his sword. The truth had already been uncovered. These two had helped the assassin enter the palace. And they thought she was the sister of those women. The ones who had been entrusted to care for me before Papa found me. The ones who left me to starve. I blink, forcing myself to stay still, but my fingers clench into the fabric of Papa's robes. The maids before us trembled even harder. Papa didn't move. The air in the room felt suffocating, as if the weight of an unseen storm pressed against the walls, thick with the scent of impending bloodshed. Then, slowly, deliberately he stood. The shift was immediate. His arms left me and I was weightless for a moment before I was settled into Nanny's waiting embrace. She clutched me tightly, her grip firm and unyielding. And then, Papa drew his sword. The sound sliced through the silence like the blade itself, sharp and merciless. The maids gasped. No, Your Majesty. Please, spare ye. Sigh. Are they idiots? I mean, what's the point of begging now? They should have thought of this moment before helping an assassin try to kill the imperial princess. But of course, people only regret when death is staring them in the face. Idiots. Papa didn't listen. He loomed over them, his crimson eyes gleaming in the torchlight. I had never seen a man so terrifying. I had never seen a man so still yet so full of death. And then, his lips parted. Because of you, he murmured, his voice soft and deadly. I almost lost my daughter. The maids flinched violently. Because of you. His grip tightened on his sword. She took her first step not in front of me but in fear. But what? Even everyone was confused. I blinked. Wait. First step? Oh, right. I had stood. I had pulled myself up against the crib's edge, grasping anything, everything, just to stay away from that sharp, glinting knife. Papa's voice shattered my thoughts. You do not deserve to breathe. The maids sobbed, pressing their heads even lower. Please, Your Majesty. Hey. A scream. Blood splattered across the pristine marble floor. One of them crumpled instantly, twitching for only a second before going limp. The other wailed. Mercy. Hey. The second body collapsed. Lifeless. Silence. Not even a breath. Then, Grand Duke Regis sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. Well, I suppose that's one way to handle it. I didn't care about the dead bodies. They were nothing but insignificant stains on the floor now. My eyes were on only one person. He stood there, his blood-stained sword hanging loosely at his side, his face unreadable. His golden eyes, which had burned with such rage moments ago, were colder now, distant, as if some unseen force had already pulled him away from this room, away from me. I stretched out my small, beautiful hands toward him. I wanted to go to him badly. I thought he would walk to me, looking at me with a little bit of softness, but he didn't look. Instead, he turned his back to me. Take Lavinia to her room, he ordered. What? Nanny bowed respectfully. Yes, Your Majesty. What? No. I squirmed in her arms, kicking and wiggling with all my might. I made noises, I flailed, but nothing. Papa didn't even spare me a glance. No. This was wrong. He wasn't supposed to act like this. It's not like this is the first time I've seen him kill someone in front of me. He's done it plenty of times. Why was he acting so cold today? Was he crazy? Did he hit his head? Did the sword accidentally stab him in the brain? I wiggled harder, but I was getting tired. I had only one move left. My ultimate trump card. The most powerful weapon in the entire universe. He was walking away. He was leaving. I sucked in a deep breath, my tiny fists clenching. I reached out, stretching my little arms toward him once more. And then with every ounce of my being I wailed. Papa. Everything stopped. The room, the air, the world, froze. Papa froze. Fionn's jaw hit the floor. Grand Duke Regis shocked. The knights gasped as if they had collectively been stabbed in the chest. Nanny looked at me with all the emotions in her eyes. And then Papa turned around. His crimson eyes, which had been so distant and unreadable, were now locked onto me. It was the first time I had ever called him that. The first time I had ever spoken. I reached for him again, little hands desperate, my crimson eyes blurring with frustrated tears. Papa. Something flickered across his face. He looked stunned, like he had been struck, like I had thrown a knife right at his cold, ruthless heart. And then, he dropped his blood-stained sword. It clattered loudly against the marble floor, echoing through the throne room like a war drum. He stepped forward, each booted footfall deliberate, slow, like he was afraid to scare me away. I didn't look away. Neither did he. Did she just call me Papa? His voice was low, disbelieving. Nanny nodded eagerly, tears of joy in her eyes. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Fionn, still looking like he had witnessed the gods descend from the heavens, bowed deeply. See, congratulations, Your Majesty. Grand Duke Regis chuckled under his breath, shaking his head. Papa's hands trembled slightly as he reached for me, and I was immediately pulled into his arms. Finally. His embrace was warm, strong. I melted into his chest, burying my face in the black and gold fabric of his robe. He still smelled of steel and blood. I didn't care. He may not have seen my first step, but I would give him this present. My first word. His arms tightened around me, his body, once trembling with fury, now trembling with something else. Something softer. I felt it in the way his breath hitched, in the way he buried his face in my curls, in the way his hold was unyielding yet careful. Can you say that again? He asked. Pa. I said and giggled. Then, Fionn. Fionn straightened immediately. Why, yes, Your Majesty. Papa's voice was firm. Declare a national holiday. Fionn blinked. I froze. What? Your Majesty? Fionn stammered. Papa's crimson eyes gleamed with absolute authority. Declare it. Fionn's lips parted as if to protest, but one look at Papa's face shut him up instantly. My daughter spoke today for the first time. This is a historic day. Shit. I really forgot I was a daughter of a cold, ruthless, crazy person. And the entire empire was about to shut down for a whole day because their terrifying emperor had turned into a complete fool for his daughter. The world was warm. The sun was shining. The grass was soft beneath my chubby hands, and my ball, my very favorite ball, was right in front of me. It had little golden stars on it, which made it the most beautiful thing I owned. I gave it a gentle tap with my royal fingers. It rolled away. Morella hurried to pick up my ball and placed it back in my lap with a smile. Here you go, princess. The woo. Well, I wanted to say thank you. That was definitely my intention. My royal gratitude was meant to be conveyed in the most elegant way possible. But alas, my baby mouth had other plans. Morella, however, nodded knowingly, as if I had spoken in the most sophisticated of tongues. Yes, princess, you're very welcome, she said, looking absolutely delighted. Ah, a true lady-in-waiting, one who understands the depths of my brilliance without me needing to say much. I took the ball with both of my beautiful hands and continued my very important activity, patting it lazily while sitting in my grand and glorious position, on the softest patch of grass I could find. Meanwhile, Nanny was making me a flower crown. I watched her carefully as she added tiny leaves and delicate flowers, each one placed with precision. It was taking a while, but I was a patient baby. Soon I would be the most exquisitely decorated princess in the empire. Marilla looked in the direction of the throne room, saying, "It's taking too long." Nanny, carefully placing another flower into my crown, didn't even look up. It's an official decree. Of course it takes time. I agree. After Papa declared a national holiday for my first word, the nobles rushed to him like their lives depended on it. They pleaded, begged, even looked like they might cry. But it's not like Papa just declared one day of national holiday. He declared a whole week. A whole week. And not that I blame him. Of course I don't blame him. I am, after all, his diamond-like treasure, but even I think this is a bit much. I mean, he just cannot declare a national holiday just because I spoke. And he is still the emperor. Shouldn't he be doing, I don't know, emperor things? Like ruling? Waging war? Terrifying his enemies with a single glance? Not spending his time personally crushing the desperate pleas of his most powerful officials just so the entire empire can take a week off in honor of my baby babbling? But what can we do? At least he is not swinging his sword and rolling nobles' heads like a football. Truly, Papa is a man of balance. And I continued playing with my ball, which later betrayed me. With a slight miscalculation of force, which I must remind you is not my fault. I'm still working with baby coordination here. My beautiful golden-starred ball rolled away. Not too far. Just enough to make my tiny fingers twitch in mild frustration. I turned to Morella and Nanny for assistance. Morella was enthusiastically gossiping with another maid. Nanny was adjusting my flower crown with the intensity of an artist creating a masterpiece. Right, so I was on my own. Fine. A true princess handles her own problems. With the grace of a queen and the crawling abilities of an 8-month-old, which, let's be honest, is not much, I dragged my royal self forward. I moved slowly. No need to panic. I will get my ball back. I reached out for my beloved ball. It rolled again. Traitor. I let out a deep sigh, the sigh of a woman burdened by the sheer incompetence of fate. But I was not one to give up. No. Lavinia Devereux was no quitter. I pushed forward, a warrior on a mission. But the ball? It rolled into the bushes. A big traitor. I crawled forward. But I couldn't find my traitor ball. Ha! Where did it go? I looked around and then, are you looking for this? A small voice rang out. What the hell is this small peasant doing here? Standing a few steps away, holding my ball in his annoyingly tiny hands, was a 6-year-old boy with dark hair, brown eyes, and the expression of someone who was the most innocent creature ever born. Osric Valerius Everhart. The future male lead. The golden boy of destiny. The child blessed by the gods or fate or whatever ridiculous force decided to make him the hero of this story. The same little boy who would one day grow up, become ridiculously powerful and abandon his fiancée, the villainous, me. And yet here he was, standing before me, holding my beloved ball like some kind of benevolent deity bestowing divine mercy upon a lowly mortal. Unacceptable. I narrowed my eyes, my baby brain scrambling for an appropriate response. Should I snatch my ball and flee? No, that would make me look weak. Should I declare war? Too soon. Osric tilted his head, his tiny noble features unreadable. Do you want it back? Of course I want it back, you idiot. But alas, all I managed to say was, bah. Perfect. Brilliant. Truly a wordsmith of the highest caliber. Osric tilted his head. Huh. How frustrating. I needed to get my ball back without looking weak. I needed to establish dominance. He smiled innocently. The audacity. How dare you smile in front of me? I am so pissed. I stared. He dared. I have faced many injustices in my 8 months of existence. Being force-fed mushy carrots? Horrific. Having to suffer the humiliation of an accidental burp in front of the royal court? Tragic. But this was truly vile. Then he crouched down, rolling my ball lazily between his hands. My ball. And then, with an innocence so pure it should be illegal, he had the audacity to ask, "Do you want to play together?" You wish, you bastard. I narrowed my eyes. A chill ran through the air. The sun dimmed. Somewhere in the distance, a raven probably cawed, sensing the battle of wills about to unfold. Osric's small, princely face was unreadable, his brown eyes wide with childlike curiosity. This was the same future male lead who would grow up and break my heart in another timeline. But not this time. Not if I destroy him first. I squared my tiny shoulders, sitting up as straight as possible. Well, as straight as an 8-month-old with questionable balance could manage. The wind blew. Dramatically. I pointed one chubby hand at him, the universal baby gesture for, "Give it back, peasant." Osric, the future hero of the Empire, the golden child of fate, the future sword-wielding, enemy-slaying legend, blinked at me. Then he had the audacity to tilt his head. "What's wrong?" he asked, looking genuinely confused. "Oh, the disrespect." "Bah." I demanded. Return my royal possession, you fool. He smiled. Smiled. I gasped. Osric then had the gall to roll the ball between his hands again, his tiny noble fingers tainting my beloved possession with his hero protagonist germs. Oh, he said as if realizing something deeply profound. Do you want me to roll it back to you? What do you think I am, your pet, you very small idiot? I exhaled sharply, steadied my rage. No, I would not lower myself to his level. I was a Devereux, graceful, regal, and above such nonsense. With the elegance of a war general commanding their troops, I lifted my chubby baby hand and extended my fingers imperiously. Give. But he just blinked at me. Then he looked at the ball. Then at me. Then at the ball again. Then at me. He is pissing me off. Before I could combust with rage, he finally stepped forward, holding out the ball like he was offering me some sacred artifact. Here you go, he said. I snatched it. With both of my tiny, beautiful hands, I grabbed my beloved possession and clutched it to my chest like the most precious of treasures. Then I glared. Hard. With the fire of 1,000 burning suns. And then I saw it. His cheeks. Turning pink. Fish. Why is he blushing? What kind of nonsense? What absurd turn of events? What ridiculous hero-protagonist nonsense was this? Then he spoke. Do you like me? The world turned around me. I froze. I think even my blood froze. Did this pea-sized noble menace just? I stared at him, my entire existence shattered. I can't believe what he just said. Just as I was about to combust from the sheer audacity of this pea-sized noble menace, a familiar voice rang out from behind me. I see you're here. Before I could react, a pair of strong arms lifted me up from the ground. I was swooped into Papa's embrace, his hands brushing off my dress with meticulous care. Sorry I was late, he murmured, his voice gentle, a contrast to the cold, murderous aura radiating off of him like a storm waiting to strike. Then his crimson eyes darkened. Dangerously. His lips curved into an almost smile. The kind that made men tremble in their boots. You see, I was dealing with some fools. His tone was casual, but oh, the underlying menace. The promise of bloodshed. And then his gaze shifted. To Osric. For the second time I saw Osric Valerius Everhart, the future hero, the golden protagonist, freeze. The first time had been during my introduction ceremony. Papa tilted his head slightly, the movement as slow and deliberate as a predator eyeing prey. The Everhart heir? Papa drawled, voice smooth yet ice-cold. What are you doing here? And why are you alone with my daughter? The world seemed to hold its breath. Even the wind dared not move, the birds fell silent, and somewhere in the palace, a servant probably fainted from sheer second-hand terror. Osric, to his credit, did not immediately perish on the spot. Instead, he blinked up at the emperor of the continent like some wide-eyed little fawn. I was walking around here and I saw the princess. She looked like she lost her way. Slander. A complete and utter defamation of my character. I did not lose my way, Papa. This idiot was holding my ball hostage. But of course Papa didn't understand. The waiting room was cold. Not in the, oh no, my tiny baby toes are freezing way, though admittedly my toes were a bit chilly, but in the, I think someone's about to faint from sheer intimidation kind of cold. I sat securely on Papa's lap, very used to this spot by now, his large hand resting firmly around my middle, holding me like a precious, dangerous artifact. We were both staring at the same unfortunate souls across from us. Grand Duke Regis. And next to him, Osric Valerius Everhart. He was practically trying to fold himself behind the Grand Duke's chair, looking like he wanted to be anywhere but here. I stared. No blinking. No drooling. Just an expressionless 8-month-old glare. Papa was doing the exact same thing. Honestly, it was funny how we matched. Same cold eyes. Same I could end you aura. Except Papa's came with actual military power and mine came with excellent posture and chubby cheeks. But I like to think I radiate more danger, right? Behind us stood the usual trio. Nanny, Morella, and Theon. Silent. Stiff. I could practically hear them holding their breath. The tension in the room was thicker than the porridge I refused at breakfast. Grand Duke Regis finally smirked, his voice cutting through the ice. You both look alike. Papa scoffed, voice sharp. She's my daughter. My blood. Of course we look alike. I gave a solemn nod. Damn right we do. But before I could properly sink deeper into Papa's lap like the pampered royalty I am, he suddenly stood up, still holding me. What? What happened, Papa? I blinked up at him, momentarily stunned. My tiny feet dangled in the air like betrayed noodles. Grand Duke Regis chuckled, leaning back, lazy. Truly, who would have thought? The tyrant emperor turned into a doting father. You've changed a lot. Papa gave him the kind of look that could sink ships. Shut up. Then, horror of horrors, Papa crouched down to my level and took both my small hands firmly in his. Oh no. I knew this routine. It was walking time. Can I not get a moment of peace? I just crawled across the entire royal garden like an underpaid servant. My legs were jelly, my will to live, questionable. But alas, I said nothing. I couldn't say anything. What can a mere baby do against an emperor? So I gave up and shuffled forward. Step by tiny, clumsy step. Papa guided me like I was a porcelain doll. And I could feel Osric's eyes on me. I glanced up mid-wobble and shot him another glare. What? Haven't seen a beautiful baby walk before. Papa's eyes flicked to Osric, sharp as daggers. Didn't I tell you not to bring your son here? Grand Duke Regis smiled lazily. Oh come on. I want our kids to be friends. Papa's gaze didn't waver. But I don't. I do not want an unknown boy hanging around my daughter. He's my son. Still a boy. The room went quiet. Even the air seemed to freeze. I kept walking like a tragic hero, each step feeling heavier under the weight of parental politics. Papa murmured, careful, as though a single misstep would bring national disgrace. Finally, after what felt like a marathon, Papa released me onto the ground. Freedom. I plopped down immediately. Seconds later, my toy box was handed to me like a prized treasure. I picked up my favorite wooden horse, chewing its ear while keeping an eye on the enemy. Osric. He was still staring. Wide-eyed. Curious. Like he wanted to join me. Grand Duke Regis leaned down to him, smiling warmly. Do you want to play with her? I froze. My toy froze. Even the horse looked concerned. Papa's voice cut through like ice. No. He cannot. Thank you, Papa. Solidarity. But they're kids, Grand Duke Regis insisted. Let them play. Papa scoffed and didn't say anything. Grand Duke Regis smirked and turned to Osric, nodding like a villain in a fairy tale, encouraging him. Osric hesitated. Then cautiously he slid down from his seat and walked toward me. I tightened my grip on the horse. What? Sir, do not touch my toys. I'm warning you. He stopped a foot away, eyes flicking to my toy pile like a man considering stealing a dragon's hoard. Papa glared. I glared. Even the air inside the room glared. Osric reached one hand out toward my wooden blocks. Excuse me. I slapped his hand away with my tiny hands. Osric froze, his wide, watery eyes locked onto mine like I'd just slapped not his hand, but his entire existence. The room felt heavier, tenser, like a thunderstorm was about to break loose. Not outside, no, inside this fancy cold waiting room. Then, Princess Lavinia. Nanny called sweetly but with that dangerous edge, crouching down until we were eye level. Her finger wagged in front of my face. We do not slap our guest hands away. I blinked up at her, innocent. Me? Slap? I would never. Except I totally just did. You mustn't be doing this, Your Highness. Sharing toys helps us make friends, Nanny added firmly, giving me that look. The one that promised fewer sweets and an earlier fairy tale story if I didn't behave. Betrayal. Meanwhile, Osric was still standing there, lip wobbling, the very picture of a boy who's about 2 seconds from bawling in front of the Emperor, the Grand Duke, and an entire lineup of witnesses. Nanny turned to Osric and gave him her award-winning warm smile. I'm sorry, young lord. The princess is a bit shy. She only shares her toys with her friends. Maybe the two of you can be friends, HM? Osric sniffled and nodded obediently. I meanwhile was seething. Shy. I was not shy, I was territorial. This crybaby, he just wanted to steal my nanny. Acting all innocent. I will make sure you regret it. I will never ever be his friend. I was all determined. But Nanny turned her eye to argue, look back to me saying, You should be friends, my princess. Oh. Suddenly, I realized that if I didn't be friends with this block-thieving invader, I might lose dessert privileges for a week. Unacceptable. So I inhaled deeply, straightened my back, summoned all the regal energy of an imperial princess, and plastered the fakest smile across my chubby cheeks. I turned to Osric, voice sweet but eyes still sharp. Bah. Fine. We're friends now. Osric's face lit up like he'd been personally blessed by the sun. He smiled brightly. Nanny beamed, clasping her hands like she'd just solved international diplomacy. Good. Satisfied, she stood back, leaving us alone. I turned back to my toy pile, picked up one wooden block and graciously shoved it toward Osric. There. Play with that. As if offering him a crumb off my royal banquet. He happily plopped down, immediately stacking it like I hadn't just publicly humiliated him 2 minutes ago. Thank you. I side-eyed him. He seemed harmless. For now. He may betray me in the future, but currently he is a kid. So let's not hate him that much for now. Papa meanwhile looked at the sight like he was watching some show. And Grand Duke Regis chuckled, saying, "Look at that. They're getting along already." Papa scoffed, arms crossed. Tolerating is not the same as getting along. I nodded in agreement. One wrong move, kid. One wrong move and I'm slapping your hand again, friend or not. Osric and I kept stacking our wooden blocks in wary silence. We were supposed to be building a house, basic stuff, but he kept fumbling with the square pieces. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes, instead grabbing a rectangle block and carefully aligning it to form the foundation. Across the room, Papa's voice sliced through the quiet. Are the western provinces still demanding additional grain reserves due to the drought? He asked, sharp but measured, eyes flicking momentarily to check whether I wasn't swallowing a block whole. Grand Duke Regis sighed, rubbing his temples. Yes. And now they're pushing to lower the tax rate altogether. He glanced at Papa, tone cooling just slightly. I've also received reports. He trailed off, then added, the Merchant Guild leader is encouraging the unrest. Papa leaned back a fraction, gaze darkening. I could tell he was already 10 moves ahead, calculating exactly how to crush an entire province without so much as standing up. Then Grand Duke Regis casually tossed in, I think you should go personally and handle the matter. Another beat. A pause stretched long, heavy. You know, Regis added lightly, only you can handle them. I glanced up at Papa mid-stack. His jaw twitched faintly. His eyes flicked toward me, soft, thoughtful but sharp beneath. Is something wrong with Papa? I don't want to go there, Papa said flatly. Grand Duke Regis blinked, taken aback. A short visit will calm them. But he stopped mid-sentence, eyes following Papa's line of sight. Papa's gaze remained fixed on me, making sure I wasn't stuffing a block into my mouth. Come on, Papa. I am not an idiot. Grand Duke Regis's lips quirked. That's not the issue, is it? Papa didn't answer right away. Then, barely above a whisper, he murmured, I heard, babies forget people easily. The room seemed to still. The weight of it hung between them like a secret. Grand Duke Regis's smile was knowing, almost fond. Ah, I see. So the bloodthirsty emperor's worried his child might forget him. Papa's brow twitched in irritation, but he didn't dignify it with a reply. Then Grand Duke Regis leaned back, shaking his head with a faint laugh. I wish Father could see this side of you. At that, Papa flinched. Don't tell me you. Papa began warily. Grand Duke Regis's smile widened. That's right, he said, voice low. I've already sent him a letter. Told him the Empire has its first imperial princess. What are they talking about? Don't everybody know that the Empire got the first imperial princess? What's new about this? Papa stared at him, stunned, speechless even. But the Grand Duke Regis's father. The previous Grand Duke. He is the man who shielded Papa, the man who helped him claim the throne. Is he coming? The seasons were changing again. It's winter now. Can you believe I'm about to turn 1 year old? Whole year. 365 days of non-stop nonsense. Frankly, I didn't even want to be one yet. Because knowing my bloodthirsty, spectacle-obsessed Papa, he'll probably declare some catastrophic empire-wide holiday just to celebrate the fact that his baby princess survived 1 year with him. And I'm already exhausted imagining it. All I want is a nap. Maybe some mashed pears. Not a military parade in my honor. Really, being a princess is a full-time job. Just existing feels like manual labor. Breathing, a chore. Don't even get me started on teething. And as if things couldn't get worse, the wind outside clearly had its own agenda. One sneaky, swirly little leaf kept slapping at the window like it was trying to break in. Meanwhile, I was draped lazily over Papa's shoulder, the very definition of a royal sack of potatoes. Chewing absent-mindedly on his long golden hair like it was some artisanal caramel popcorn stick. Listen, the chewing reflex is a sign of superior baby development. Don't question me. Papa, of course, was deep in warlord mode, furiously scribbling over documents like each sheet had personally betrayed him. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they had. But being the multitasking emperor he is, he kept one muscled arm locked around me like a vice, preventing me from leaping off the chair and attempting a daring escape out the window. Across the desk stood Theon, sharp as ever, his expression severe enough to scare lesser men. The army you sent to the western provinces reports that the situation is still unstable, Theon said. Papa's eyes darkened like an approaching storm. Useless, he muttered. Why do I even keep them if they can't handle a few merchants? Merchants. Peasants. Generals. Papa has no time for anyone. Frankly, I relate. Theon sighed. The sigh of a man who's been enduring Papa's dramatics for far too long. Your Majesty, the army's job is to prevent chaos. Or bloodshed. You're the one who has to handle those arrogant merchants and their people. Papa let out one of his signature annoyed emperor sighs, the kind that makes the furniture tremble. Then bold as ever Theon dared, it's you who should go there. You don't really have a choice. Well, look at Theon. Handling Papa like he's the real ruler here. Honestly, I approve. He's got strong potential for Papa's next lover. Keeps him grounded. No nonsense. Good cheekbones too. Now I must decide, what should I call him in the future? Mommy? Daddy? Just Dad sounds fine, right? Papa glared at him, voice low and dangerous. You're getting too bold, Theon. Theon didn't blink, flipping a paper like he was swatting a fly. I know. Papa's pen nearly snapped in half. Get lost before I kill you. I will. After you finish those papers. Papa was vibrating with royal rage. His pen cracked ominously. I, meanwhile, kept chewing his hair peacefully like nothing was happening. Then Papa scooped me up and plopped me onto his lap, my rightful throne. But now that I've discovered the magic of standing and walking, sitting still feels like divine punishment. So naturally I stood right there on Papa's thigh, my tiny legs wobbly but determined, and reached for the nearest document. Instinct. Baby governance, you know? Papa's eyes flicked between me and the papers, probably wondering what fresh disaster I'd cause. I stared at the scribbles he was signing, hoping maybe this time the lines and dots would finally make sense. I squinted. Nope. Still gibberish. Frustrated, I slapped the paper dramatically, sending a few sheets fluttering to the floor. Stupid language. Theon didn't flinch. He bent down calmly and slid the papers back like he was dealing with this nonsense daily. He is. Oh, Theon added casually like it was an afterthought, don't forget. You need to finish all this before the former Grand Duke arrives. Papa froze mid-scribble. His jaw twitched. His soul visibly left his body. Ah yes. The former Grand Duke. The living legend. The war machine. The man responsible for turning my already insane father into the bloodthirsty emperor he is today. From what I've heard, the story goes something like this. He plucked Papa straight out of the royal mess he was born into, whisked him away from backstabbing relatives and palace plots, and raised him like a feral wolf cub. Didn't just teach him how to read or rule. No. He taught him how to wield a sword, lead armies, and crush rebellions before breakfast. Leader of the 3 royal knights. Conqueror of kingdoms. Basically, he dragged little traumatized Papa straight onto battlefields, handed him a sword and said, "Good luck, kid." He's the reason Papa swings his sword like a toy, casually slashes off people's heads and plays football with them afterward. And today, he's coming here. To meet Papa. And horrifyingly, me. I flopped dramatically against Papa's chest, staring at the stormy window. The wind outside felt like it was whispering warnings. Maybe even the weather was scared. I gnawed harder on Papa's sleeve, practically chewing through the fabric like a stress reliever. Mentally preparing myself. Bracing for impact. Because really, what's this terrifying former Grand Duke going to do when he lays eyes on me? His precious prodigy, his ruthless war-forged heir. Now saddled with a 1-year-old who drools on imperial documents and uses Papa's hair as a chew toy? Will he burst in, grab Papa by the collar and thunder? How dare you become a father? You were supposed to conquer kingdoms, not toddlers. Maybe he'll demand a royal duel right there in the drawing room. Maybe he'll draft me into military service on the spot, tiny sword and all. At this point, anything feels possible, you know. The courtyard was a sea of people. Servants, guards, Morella, Theon. Everyone had assembled in perfect formation like the gates of heaven or doom were about to open. And in a way they were. Because Papa's godfather was coming. Papa stood front and center, the picture of regal menace, one hand cradling me tightly against his chest like I was the crown jewel of the empire. And then there was my nanny, the fearless, unshakable warrior in her own right. Unshakable when it came to one thing. Me. Not even the mighty emperor fazed her. Careful, careful, your highness might catch a chill, she muttered, pulling the blanket up to my chin, layering me like I was a delicate pastry. 1 blanket. 2. 3. 4. I peeked out over the mountain of fabric like a swaddled burrito, my hair sticking out wildly while Papa, might I remind you, the terror of the continent, stood by encouraging her like a worried hen. Is this enough? Papa barked, glancing at her. Bring another one. 2 more. The wind is too sharp. Ooh. I will die of suffocation, Papa. I am already covered in 4 blankets here. I'm practically a boiled dumpling at this point. Papa. I wriggled, my tiny hands poking out desperately, telling him to stop the madness. But like always, he misunderstood, eyes darkening with concern. I think she's still freezing, he declared grimly. I give up. Someone, anyone, help me before Nanny starts knitting me a blanket straight off a sheep's back. And then, thank the heavens, my plea was heard. Before Nanny could dash off for a 5th layer, a distant sound broke the tension. A low rumble of hooves, wheels crunching over frost-bitten stone. Every head snapped toward the grand gates. The massive double doors creaked open like the entrance to the underworld itself, dramatic and terrifying, and enrolled a monstrous black carriage, ominous and elegant, flanked by knights carved out of steel. But naturally the carriage door didn't open immediately. Oh, of course not. The tension had to simmer first. Like good soup. Then slowly, deliberately, the door swung open. A boot hit the ground. Not just any boot. The kind of boot that had seen battlefields, crushed rebellions, and probably kicked a king or 2 in the face. Out stepped the former Grand Duke Gregor. He was enormous. Towering. Cloaked in a storm-black coat lined with silver embroidery, his sharp, severe face carved out of stone. A long scar ran from the corner of his eyebrow down his cheek. The kind of scar that screamed I could write an entire history book, but I'd rather glare at you instead. His cold, calculating eyes swept over the crowd. And behind him, following neatly like ducklings, came the current Grand Duke Regis and of course, Osric. Why the hell is he here again? They looked ridiculous. Like a miniature version of themselves. From ancient warlord to middle-aged brooding duke to the grumpy kid. Honestly, it was like one of those weird milk ads. Drink this and you'll grow from Osric to Grand Duke Gregor. They walked closer, boots echoing ominously. The 3 of them bowed in perfect unison. We greet your majesty the emperor and the imperial princess. Papa gave his usual stiff nod. Please rise. The former Grand Duke's eyes landed on Papa first, voice deep and thunderous. How are you, your majesty the emperor? Papa's jaw twitched. I am fine, Uncle Gregor. I hope you had safe travels. The old duke nodded once, sharp and clipped. No smile. Just pure warlord energy. Yes, your majesty. We had safe travels up to here. Then, his eyes slid down to me. I flinched. Hey, I didn't get scared. I'm a baby, okay? Reflex. But the man's gaze didn't leave me. Cold, unreadable, like he was evaluating me for the throne already. What? Why is he glaring at me like I've committed tax fraud? Wait. I get it. This is a glaring competition. All right, old man. Let's see who wins. I glared back. Full baby power, eyes wide, lips pursed, full-on toddler death stare. I am not scared of you, Grandpa Warlord. And then he smirked. Actually smirked. And said, voice like rumbling thunder, I see you've already conquered the Empire's most challenging task. What? Was that a joke? Did the war machine just make a joke about me? The waiting room felt like some kind of royal dungeon. Everyone sat stiff. Stiffer than Papa's ironed cuffs. Tension hung in the air so thick, you could probably slice it, roast it, and serve it on a silver platter with a side of imperial garnish. Papa set me neatly beside him on the plush velvet couch like a precious ornament. Something fragile, glittering, and possibly dangerous if dropped. I, of course, was busy gnawing on my golden pacifier. Priorities. Across from us sat Grandpa Gregor, cloaked in black like he'd swallowed a thunderstorm, and Grand Duke Regis, who looked like he hadn't smiled since the Empire's founding. Between them, an untouched pot of tea sat steaming gently, like it knew better than to interrupt. The merchants in the western provinces still resist imperial oversight, Grand Duke Regis was saying, voice smooth but tight like a noose. Several trade routes remain under independent control. Papa didn't blink. His voice was cool as polished steel. Then break them. No merchant outranks the throne. No pause. No mercy. Classic Papa. Every word they spoke felt like arrows being drawn and aimed, heavy with sharp intent. And then, Grandpa Gregor's voice slid in, dry and cutting like a blade being unsheathed. It's not so simple, Your Majesty. Trade isn't soldiers. Merchants don't march when ordered. They need to be lured in, with something valuable. Oh great. Western provinces again. Yawn. But me. My focus was elsewhere. Namely on Osric. The little menace sitting in front of me, happily munching away on crispy chocolate cookies like he personally inherited the empire. I stared, pacifier forgotten in my mouth. Those cookies. They looked divine. Perfectly crisp. Perfectly chocolatey. Probably baked in heaven itself. Meanwhile, I'm over here chewing gold like some underfed royal hostage. This is betrayal. Back to the grown-ups. You have no choice but to go yourself, Grandpa Gregor added, voice steady, eyes sharp. Only you can settle the western provinces, Your Majesty. So that's why he's here. The nobles must be exhausted trying to convince Papa to set foot in the western provinces. Only one person in this empire has the guts and charm to face Papa head-on, Grandpa Gregor. I glanced up at him. His eyes were already on me. I keep avoiding it, but he keeps glancing at me. Why does Grandpa Gregor keep glancing at me? First, he had the nerve to crack a joke earlier about Papa conquering the Empire's hardest challenge. Me. No. He won't stop looking at me like I'm some fascinating rare artifact. Oh, I get it. Maybe he's just never seen a baby this gorgeous. Understandable, honestly. And then, our eyes met again. Oh no. Abort. Look at the curtains. The ceiling. Anything but. But then, my eyes landed on Osric. The cookie thief himself. Happily munching. Gleefully shoving one cookie after another into his mouth like it was his divine birthright. Hey kid, do you even know I've never tasted one of those cookies in my entire royal life? Not one crumb. And here you are double-fisting them like it's a buffet. I am royal blood and all, pacifier in mouth, and he's over there living the chocolate dream. I am pissed. Is this treason? Should I summon the royal council to draft an anti-cookie decree? Should I ban cookies for 2 years? 3. Maybe exile them entirely? And then, our eyes met. Why does my gaze keep locking onto uncomfortable people today? First Grandpa Gregor and now Osric. Osric, still blissfully unaware, grabbed another cookie, jumped off the couch and started walking toward me. Hey kid. Don't come near me. We may be friends now, boy, but don't get too comfortable. You're my future enemy. My tyrant wife father won't blink before crushing you. Back off. Retreat. Save yourself. But nope. He stopped right in front of me, crumbs on his face, cookie half in his mouth, eyes wide like we weren't standing on a political battlefield. You want some? He mumbled, holding out the cookie like some peace treaty. The audacity. My royal blood boiled. My cookie-deprived nerves snapped. Is he mocking me? Offering forbidden cookies to a 1-year-old baby who, thanks to imperial choking hazards, isn't allowed solid food yet. The sheer insult. I really should ban cookies. And then, a large hand reached down and effortlessly scooped Osric in his arms. Grandpa Gregor. Osric, he said, voice smooth but firm, Princess cannot eat cookies yet. She's only 1. Osric blinked, cookie still dangling from his hand, and gave a solemn little nod like he'd just received a royal decree. I exhaled, victorious. But then, Grandpa Gregor looked at me again, crouched down to my level. Oh no. Here we go. His sharp, stormy face softened ever so slightly as he rested one hand on his knee and leaned in close. Hello, Princess Lavinia, he murmured, voice low and warm like velvet draped over steel. Don't worry. When you're older, I'll make sure no one denies you cookies. I blinked, pacifier still lodged in my mouth, unsure if I should be flattered, suspicious, or preparing a royal decree banning eye contact for the next 10 minutes. Grandpa Gregor smiled faintly, the kind of smile that made you wonder whether he's plotting 5 coups or just being lovely. Honestly, probably both. I think the rumors were true, Grandpa Gregor murmured, voice low, like he was letting me in on some grand imperial secret. Rumors? What rumors? I blinked up at him, pacifier still lodged firmly in my mouth, processing whether I should be concerned. Was someone spreading scandal about me in the court already? Was I being framed? I was 1 year old. How much political damage could I have possibly done? Then Grandpa Gregor smiled even more warmly, eyes crinkling like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. Our little princess is really cute. Huh. That's the rumor. I paused, processing this glorious information. What a beautiful rumor. Excellent journalism. Truly the people have eyes. Well, they're not wrong. I am cute. Adorable, actually. What can I say? It's a burden. And then, like some character out of a fairy tale, Grandpa Gregor reached into his pocket. I didn't want to come empty-handed for our first meeting, he said casually, like this was no big deal. So I brought this for you. Okay, Grandpa, I will accept all your gifts. Even its trash. Then out came a crimson ruby. Not just any ruby. An absolute monster ruby. It gleamed like it had been plucked straight from the crown jewels, big enough to flatten a man if thrown hard enough. I gasped audibly. My pacifier popped out of my mouth like it had seen a ghost. Woof. My eyes probably sparkled with literal golden, diamond-shaped stars. It was shiny. It was red. It was big. Clearly it belonged to me now. I stretched out both my chubby hands, determined to claim my prize, even if it meant juggling it like a circus act. But just as my fingers were about to graze the glittering surface, swoosh. A large, firm hand scooped me right up off the couch like I was some precious artifact being stolen from a museum. His grip was secure, his jaw tight, and his voice smooth as silk but sharp as a blade. Don't lure my daughter. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Papa's crimson eyes narrowed at Grandpa Gregor like the ruby was some forbidden weapon. Oh no, that he's entered full jealous tyrant father mode. Grandpa Gregor merely raised an eyebrow, completely unfazed. His smile was as mild as a spring breeze, while Papa's aura practically screamed bloodshed. It's only a welcome gift, Your Majesty, Grandpa Gregor said smoothly. Yes, Papa. Just a harmless little gift. I wiggled in Papa's iron grip, stretching my hands out in the universal toddler language of gimme. It sparkles. I want it. Grandpa Gregor's lips twitched. Look, even my granddaughter wants a gift from her dear grandpa. Excuse me, what now? Granddaughter. I froze mid-wiggle, pacifier hanging loosely. Did I hear that right? Did he just claim me? Papa's expression turned positively glacial. She is not your granddaughter, Papa snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. I killed her grandfather years ago. She has no grandfather. Well. Casually bringing up murder in front of your pacifier-sucking toddler like it's snack time. If you can roll heads in front of me during breakfast, I guess a little casual death talk's no big deal. Grandpa Gregor didn't even flinch. But I raced you. Papa's smile was pure frost. Thank you, he said, tone so flat it might as well have been a sword to the gut. But you cannot steal away my daughter. Oh dear. We've reached peak tyrant. Then out of nowhere, Grand Duke Regis strolled in, sipping tea like he'd been waiting backstage for his cue. See, Grand Duke Regis said blandly, nodding towards Papa. I told you. He's changed a lot. Grandpa Gregor smirked, clearly enjoying every second of this train wreck. Yes, I can see that. Then just when things felt like they couldn't get any tenser, Grandpa Gregor casually reached out and patted Papa on the shoulder. It's good to see you being such a good father, Your Majesty, Grandpa Gregor said with syrupy warmth. But kids tend to love me. What can I do? Papa flinched. Actually flinched. The mighty, feared emperor. Defeater of armies. Slayer of grandfathers. Flinched. I almost applauded. The sheer audacity. He wanted to snap. I could feel it. Every muscle in his arm tensed like he was 2 seconds away from declaring war on Grandpa Gregor right there in the waiting room. But alas, diplomacy. Instead, Papa's grip tightened protectively around me like some dragon hoarding its treasure. His aura practically screamed, "Mine." Me. I was still trying to figure out how to get that ruby without accidentally triggering another political assassination. Then, cool as ever, Grand Duke Regis stepped in and said casually, "It's okay, Father. We can give the princess her present at the upcoming event." Event? I blinked, suspicious. What event? Before I could process, Grandpa Gregor's smile widened like he was plotting 12 things at once. "I agree," he said smoothly. "And I think..." He glanced at Papa, who was still glaring like a territorial beast. "It's going to be the grandest event in the Empire." Huh. What are they talking about? What kind of event is this where presents, potential coups and family drama are being exchanged like appetizers? Then Grandpa Gregor looked down at me, eyes twinkling. "Our little princess is going to turn 1 very soon." I perked up. "Oh, is that so? First birthday, huh? Okay, maybe that explains the excitement. But then, Grandpa Gregor glanced sideways, eyes gleaming mischievously, and added, "And her father is going to turn 25 this year." What? I froze. Wait, hold on. Don't tell me. Papa, and my birthday are on the same day. I gaped, pacifier long forgotten, brain struggling to process. Wait. So we're both born on the same day. Same zodiac sign. Same cosmic alignment. Same chaotic energy. We really share a birthday. Well, I guess that explains why we're both dramatic, terrifying, and prone to owning entire rooms without saying a word. So I have questions. Very important, earth-shattering questions. Does this mean I have to share my cake? A whole year. I survived a whole freaking year in this royal palace. Not just survived, thrived. I, Lavinia Devereux, the supposed neglected villainess-to-be, flipped the script so hard I probably gave fate whiplash. I was supposed to be ignored, tossed aside, and forgotten by everyone. Especially by Papa. But guess what? Plot twist, universe. The whole empire knows me now. And more importantly, I got all the Papa love I deserved. Sure, his face is always set to tyrant mode, but actions speak louder than words, right? And boy, did Papa's actions scream adoration. Exhibit A, he executed those maids for neglecting me. Ruthless? Yes. Effective? Absolutely. Exhibit B, he assigned me a personal nanny. Handpicked by Papa himself. No less than the best for his precious little heir. Exhibit C, a whole parade of guards? Just for me? Oh yes. I now have my own Imperial security squad, ready to wage war at the slightest whimper. Exhibit D, he declared a national holiday when I flipped over for the first time, which was essentially handled by Theon. Despite my first word blunder, he still declared a national holiday. Yup. People celebrated my blabbering tongue-twirling skills. Exhibit E, and the grandest display of all? Papa paraded me around like I was Simba at that royal event, practically roaring, "Behold, my heir." Okay, that might have been a bit much, but hey, no one questioned who's the princess around here. So, why the heck is everything weird today? I gnawed furiously on my golden pacifier, eyes darting around the room like a tiny detective on high alert. The hall was decorated, sure. I am too beautiful, completely sure. Golden banners, fancy flowers, enough glittering candles to blind half the nobility. But where was the fanfare? Where were the hundreds of nobles lining up to kiss my chubby little hand and pretend they adored me? Where was the choir? The parade? Why was this so quiet? It's my freaking first birthday in this universe. Where were the hordes of nobles groveling to gain favor with the imperial princess? The extravagant performances? The mountains of gifts? And where was the choir singing my praises in the background? Just a handful of high-ranking nobles. A few imperial council members. And some ladies who were currently pretending not to eye the dessert table like starving hawks. Morella, I saw you glance at that chocolate mousse. Don't lie to me. My chubby legs swung back and forth from Papa's lap, my usual throne, as I took in the suspiciously low-key scene. His arm was steady and warm around me, a constant source of comfort. But today his grip felt tighter. Proactive. Almost like he was holding on just a little too tightly. Suspicious. Very suspicious. I narrowed my eyes, the seasoned drama queen in me coming out full force. I need answers. I tilted my head up, giving Papa my best squint. Interrogation mode, on. Papa's expression was calm. Too calm. But something was off. His crimson eyes, usually burning with that terrifying tyrant-wide glow of, my daughter is the best in the world, bow before her, were softer. Distant. Like he was thinking too much. Thinking about what exactly? I sucked on my pacifier harder, feeling my tiny baby brain shift into overdrive. The gears were grinding. The pieces were falling into place. And then, enter Grandpa Gregor and Grand Duke Regis with Osric course. Happy birthday, Your Majesty, Grandpa Gregor said smoothly, his sharp eyes twinkling with something that made my internal alarms go danger. Danger. Abort mission. I froze. Did Grandpa Gregor do something? My baby instincts screamed at me. Very suspicious. And then, Grandpa's lips curled into that smile. That smile. The one that made me want to hide under the nearest imperial carpet. Plot incoming. I promised to give my little princess a birthday gift, didn't I? Grandpa Gregor's voice was smooth as silk, but I wasn't fooled. Yes. Give me. My ruby. My precious ruby. I wiggled. Once. Twice. Harder. Gimme. I see my princess hasn't forgotten, Grandpa Gregor chuckled, his eyes twinkling even more dangerously. I knew it. I was born for this moment. Give me back my ruby, old man. I earned that thing with blood, sweat, and adorable baby manipulation. I wiggled harder, flailing my tiny arms for maximum effect. Bah. Translation, where's my loot, Grandpa? Patience, little one, Grandpa murmured, reaching into his robes. Yes. My ruby. I could already see it, gleaming red, my richies. But then, he didn't pull out my ruby. Nope. He pulled out a scroll. A scroll. Wait. What? I blinked. Once. Twice. Where's my shiny? Here it is, Grandpa said with a smile that was way too satisfied. My baby instincts screamed trap. I squinted at the scroll like it was some ancient curse about to turn me into a frog. I don't like this. Nope. Not one bit. I asked for my ruby. My glorious, sparkling, future world-dominating ruby. So why was this old man holding out a dusty piece of paper like he was presenting me with the crown jewels? I pursed my lips, suspicious as ever. Bah. Translation, what the heck is this, Grandpa? Grandpa Gregor's smile deepened, which immediately sent my internal alarms blaring. This, my dear princess, he said smoothly, is something even more valuable than a ruby. Pause. Even more valuable than my ruby? Impossible. I blinked again. Did I mishear that? Bah. I demanded, pointing aggressively at the scroll. Translation. Explain. Quickly. Grandpa's eyes twinkled, and his smile grew even more infuriating. It's a diamond and a ruby mine I give you as a gift. Wow. My chubby cheeks flushed with excitement as my tiny brain short-circuited. Diamonds? Rubies. My eyes sparkled brighter than the damn gems themselves. Grandpa's best. I love you, Grandpa. You're the best. I wiggled in Papa's lap, giggling uncontrollably as I clutched the scroll that was bigger than my tiny hands. Visions of sparkly wealth and unimaginable power danced in my mind. Forget villainous. I'm about to become a mogul. I am rich. Didn't I tell you not to steal my baby? She is mine. Papa's voice came out dark and possessive, sending a chill down my spine. Oh, here we go again. Papa's crimson eyes glinted dangerously, his arms tightening around me as if someone were trying to snatch me away. Grandpa Gregor, completely unbothered, smiled like he hadn't just ignited World War III in the palace. It's her birthday. Your Majesty. As her grandpa, I should give her something, Grandpa Gregor said smoothly, his smile dripping with grandfatherly innocence. Innocence, my ass. Papa's jaw clenched. As I said before, her grandpa is. But Grandpa Gregor cut him off smoothly, raising an eyebrow. I am still her grandpa even though we do not share the same blood. Grandpa knew how to shush Papa. Well, basically, he is the one who raised him. No one knew Papa better than him in this space. But Papa scoffed, his grip on me tightening just a fraction. I blinked. Oh boy. Tension. Tension. Now what is Papa going to say? He will definitely not sling his sword, I know. So, how is Papa going to sush his father-like person? Papa's crimson eyes narrowed, but then, his voice became soft. He sighed. Just take care of her and protect her if you want to be her grandpa. Protect me? My tiny baby brain hit the pause button. Grandpa Gregor's smile softened, but there was something in his eyes. Something serious. Don't worry, Your Majesty, he said softly, his gaze settling on me like he was seeing more than just a giggling baby. She is the future of the Ilarian Empire. I won't let anyone harm her. What now? I will protect her with everything I have, when you're gone. Wait. What? The scroll slipped from my hands, landing with a soft thud. When he's gone. When where's gone? My head snapped up, panic setting in. I stared at Papa, my wide eyes locking onto his face. Pa. Papa looked down at me, his expression worried and annoyed. Oh no. Oh no. Pa, I whispered softly. What does Grandpa mean? Grandpa Gregor, as cool as ever, simply glanced at Papa's irritated expression and smiled knowingly. If you're worried about her forgetting you, Grandpa Gregor murmured, then solve the Western Province matter soon and come back. What? Papa's going to the Western Provinces. Grandpa convinced him? My pacifier almost dropped from my mouth. Papa's leaving. My little heart started pounding, my tiny hands gripping Papa's sleeve. Pa. Papa's gaze softened as he looked down at me, his stern expression cracking for just a moment. But I saw it. Worry. Fear. And I don't like it. I blinked, my little chest tightening as a strange, uncomfortable feeling spread through me. I was used to my tyrant. Why Papa? I don't want him to leave. My tiny hands gripped his sleeves tighter. As if that could stop him. As if I could hold him here, not letting him go anywhere. Emperor's perspective. 1. Your Majesty, the princess is born. The words grated against my ears, dragging me from the only peace I had, sleep. I opened the door to find an insignificant maid kneeling on the cold stone floor, her head bowed so low I could barely see her face. At her feet, wrapped in a thin blanket, lay a bundle. Small, quiet, breathing. What did you say? My voice was low, dangerous. The maid flinched, her hands trembling as she spoke. Why, Your Majesty? It's the princess, your daughter. A daughter. Mistake. I stared at the bundle, feeling nothing but cold detachment. This thing was the result of a woman I barely remembered. Useless. Weak. So, you're telling me I have a daughter now? My gaze bore into the maid, watching her body tremble like a leaf in a storm. She was terrified, and rightly so. Why, Your Majesty. Silence. My eyes drifted back to the bundle. A tiny thing barely moving. Take her to the Eastern Palace and raise her. My voice was devoid of warmth, my words final. Don't show her up in front of me again. The maid scrambled to her feet, her head still bowed as she picked up the child and disappeared down the corridor. I slammed the door shut. Annoying. I should have ended it right then. Killed her. That weakling had no place in this world. No place in my bloodline. The thought gripped me, tightening around my mind like a vice. My hand instinctively reached for the sword beside my bed. One strike. One clean stroke. That's all it would take to rid myself of this nuisance forever. My grip tightened around the hilt. I could feel the weight of it, the promise of silence. I should kill her. But before I could take another step. Oh, Your Majesty, a familiar voice interrupted. Are you going somewhere? I exhaled, rubbing my temples as the pounding in my head intensified. Are you having another headache? Theon's tone was calm, but I could sense the concern laced within it. Annoying. I let the sword fall back into its sheath. The moment passed. And just like that, I forgot about her. Days, weeks. I never spared a thought for the girl I had condemned to that empty palace. Until that night. The night everything changed. My head was throbbing like an elephant had trampled over me. The pain was unbearable, and the only cure I knew was blood. I had to kill someone. Grabbing my sword, I walked out, ready to slay the first fool who crossed me. But somehow, my feet carried me to the Eastern Palace, which looked too empty. Why am I here? I muttered, confusion gnawing at me. The halls were lifeless. No guards. No servants. Not even a trace of the living. The air was stale, like death had already claimed this place. That's when I recalled her, my daughter. I ordered her to be raised here. The memory surfaced, distant and hazy. But it doesn't look like someone lives here. Drawn by instinct, I walked deeper inside. The halls stretched endlessly, suffocating in their silence. Until a door. I pushed open the door to a cold, barren room. And there in the center, a lone crib. A faint sound echoed through the silence. Goo-thay. Soft. Innocent. I approached, my footsteps echoing against the emptiness. My heart pounded, the thirst for blood still burning in my veins. Kill her. That's right, I can kill her today now. She doesn't deserve to live. One stroke and it would be over. But the moment my eyes met hers, the throbbing stopped. Big, curious eyes stared up at me. Wide and unafraid. She flinched at my presence at first, but she didn't cry. She wasn't scared. Not like the others. Why aren't you scared of me? My grip on the sword tightened, ready to kill her. Just one swing. But those eyes, they wouldn't look away. Why isn't she scared of me? Is it because she has my blood? Is it because she is my daughter? My jaw clenched. The air in the room grew thick, suffocating me. But I couldn't. In fact, I walked away. My feet felt heavy, dragging me from that lifeless palace. I couldn't kill her. But for some unknown reason, I felt alive for my whole lifetime. The suffocating darkness that had clung to me for years. The weight of the blood I had spilled, the souls I had sent to the afterlife. It was gone. Even if just for a moment. But something was wrong. Why is she left alone? No nanny. No maids. No guards. My steps slowed. A cold chill crawled up my spine. They left her. Alone. The anger simmering beneath my skin surged. How dare they leave my daughter alone? How dare they? My pace quickened as I stormed back toward the royal palace, my sword still in hand. Your Majesty? Theon's voice echoed through the hallway as he approached. His footsteps hurried. His eyes darted to the sword in my hand, and I could see the unspoken question in them. Did I kill someone? Theon's face paled, but I ignored his concern. That didn't matter. She was alone. My daughter was left alone in that desolate place. My jaw clenched and I met Theon's gaze. Theon, I said, my voice low and filled with restrained fury. Yes, Your Majesty? He straightened immediately. Drag all the maids and guards who work in the Eastern Palace. Bring them to me. Theon's brow furrowed, his confusion apparent. With all due respect, Your Majesty, may I know why? I didn't answer immediately. My hand tightened around the sword hilt, the weight of it grounding me as I fought to keep my rage in check. They dared to leave my daughter alone. They need to be punished. Silence. Theon blinked, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. What? Daughter. His voice was barely above a whisper, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Your Majesty, what are you talking about? He didn't believe me. No one would. After all, I had discarded her. I had ordered her to be raised away from the palace, in a place forgotten by everyone, including me. Theon didn't question me after that. And now, they were all kneeling before me. The maids. The guards. Every single one who dared to neglect her. Outside the Eastern Palace next morning. Bowing. Trembling. They were dragged out one by one, their heads pressed to the cold ground. Why, Your Majesty, please, spare you. A maid's voice cracked, her body shaking as she dared to beg. Her forehead kissed the dirt, her tears soaking into the soil. Spare them? After leaving my daughter alone to die? How dare she? I stepped forward, my boots crunching against the gravel. Her voice grated against my ears. Annoying. My sword hung loosely by my side, but the itch to raise it, to end this filth right here and now. We didn't mean to. Didn't mean to? Is that supposed to justify leaving the Emperor's daughter alone? To shiver alone in an empty palace? Kill her. No. My grip tightened on the hilt. Just one swing, but not like this. No. Death would be too merciful. Drag them to the dungeon, I said, my voice cold, unfeeling. Theon straightened beside me, waiting for my next words. Torture them. Until the day of their execution comes. A chilling silence fell. No. Your Majesty, please." Their cries echoed in the early morning, but they were nothing more than noise. Pointless. They should have begged for mercy before leaving her alone. Now, it's too late. Later, as we walked toward the palace, my steps quickened. But something felt. Why is it so quiet? Why can't I hear her? A chill ran down my spine. I threw the door open, my heart pounding. And there she was, near the window. The window that was open. Wind blew in, chilling the already cold room. She was shivering, like her life was hanging by a thread. Her tiny body trembled, her small hands gripping the blanket that barely covered her. No sound. No cries. Just silence. Did they starve her? How dare they? My jaw clenched and I forced my rage down. Now wasn't the time. I took a step forward, my movements slow, careful. "Don't worry," I whispered, my voice barely above a breath, as if she could hear me. "I will protect you." I stood beside her, my fingers brushing against her ice-cold cheek. Cold. Too cold. Her lips trembled as she tried to make a sound. But nothing came. "Too weak. He's too weak. Am I too late?" "I think the princess is too weak, Your Majesty." Theon's voice came from behind me, quiet, cautious. Then, my fists clenched at my sides. "What are you waiting for?" I turned, my eyes cold and merciless. "Drag all the priests and doctors. Tell them I summoned them immediately." Theon hesitated for only a moment before bowing. "At once, Your Majesty. And, if they don't fix her, they'll join the others in the dungeon. The day is about to end." The night was about to end, but she was still lying motionless on my bed. Her breathing was so faint I could barely hear it. Why hasn't she woken up yet? My voice echoed off the cold stone walls. Rage. Frustration. I couldn't control it anymore. I grabbed the old priest by his collar, dragging him forward until his feet barely touched the ground. "You said she'd get better. You said it was just exhaustion. Then why? Why, Your Majesty, please." His face turned red as he struggled to breathe. "The princess should have woken up by now. But, speak. She is too weak. Your Majesty." His voice trembled, barely a whisper. It may take time for her to recover." "Time? How much time?" "We cannot guess, Your Majesty," the priest said, still struggling to breathe. I should rip this useless bastard apart." I shoved him back and he fell to his knees, coughing violently. "If she dies." My voice was barely above a whisper. "You die too. This chapter will show you how the Emperor felt for his daughter. Emperor's perspective. If she dies." My voice was barely above a whisper. "You die too." The priests and doctors trembled, bowing even lower as if the ground would swallow them. Cowards. I could feel the madness seeping into my bones, consuming me whole. I had already lost it. My grip on the sword tightened. Just one stroke. One stroke. And I could paint these walls with their blood. But then, a sound. Soft. Faint. Well, what? Her. Did she wake up? The sword slipped from my fingers, clattering to the floor. I didn't care. I threw it away. She woke up. I turned, my footsteps unnervingly slow as I approached her bed. When I reached her, her tiny eyes blinked up at me. "Alive." She gasped again, just like yesterday, but this time, she didn't look away. She looked at me like she recognized me. And there was no fear. But her small body didn't tremble. Her lips didn't quiver. "Why aren't you scared? Why don't you cry like the others? Why are you looking at me like that? Is it because you're my daughter?" "Check on her," I ordered, my voice sharp, snapping the priest from his stupor. The useless fool scrambled forward, his hands trembling as he examined her. I sat beside her. So small. So fragile. Yet, he's here. Alive. Her expression. It's different. Her tiny brow furrowed, her lips slightly parted, as if she's trying to figure out the world around her. As if she understands. And why does she look at me as if she can see right through me? "Make sure they all get executed," I muttered, my tone as cold as ice. Theon, standing silently in the corner, gave a curt nod. "Yes, Your Majesty." But I didn't look at him. My focus was on her. Her tiny chest rose and fell, her breathing still faint, but steady. She's alive. That's all that matters. I tried to reach for her, my hand hovering for a moment. "Can I hold her?" Will she break? I've crushed countless men beneath my sword. My hands, they're too large. Too dangerous. But I wanted to hold her. I wanted to feel. How does she feel in my arms? I needed to. And so I did, but why is she wriggling like a worm? I frowned, adjusting my grip. Am I doing something wrong? Why, Your Majesty? The priest's trembling voice echoed behind me. Please don't hold the princess like that. What? I snapped my head toward him, and the fool had the audacity to step closer. Then how? I growled, my voice laced with warning. But instead of cowering, he dared to guide my hands, adjusting my grip. I almost pushed him away. But then she stopped moving. Her small body settled against me, her breathing steady. Comfortable. Likes it. I stared at her, feeling something foreign gnawing at my chest. A strange softness seeped into the cracks of my heart, filling the void I had long forgotten existed. It was unsettling. This was the first time I had ever felt it. But why? Why does this feel so right? A small child, so fragile that she could break with just one wrong move from my hands, was giving me something I had never known before. Warmth. Peace. How? I had bathed in blood, stood atop mountains of corpses, and crushed empires beneath my feet, yet none of that had ever stirred anything inside me. But this tiny creature, barely strong enough to breathe, had managed to do what no one else could. Why does her touch make my heart ache in a way that feels unfamiliar, unbearable, as if something was cracking inside me, something I had buried long ago? But I couldn't let it show. Not now. Not ever. Yet, as she nestled closer, her small fingers grasping my robe as if I were her only safety in this cruel world. Tao what? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Please feed her, Your Majesty, the priest stammered, bowing lower. The princess is weak. She needs to be fed to gain strength. Feed her. Me. I blinked, momentarily confused. But I did it. I followed the priest's instructions, and as I fed her, she latched onto the bottle with desperation, sucking as if she hadn't been fed for days. Days. My jaw clenched. Those peasants. They dared to starve her. They dared to neglect her. They need to suffer more. I will make sure their screams echo through the dungeons until their last breath. But then, her eyes fluttered closed, her tiny body relaxing in my arms. Peaceful. Her small fingers brushed against my robe, then clenched the fabric again as if she trusted me. But when I glanced around, I realized the walls here reeks of blood, and the air stank of fear and death. This palace. It was a place where life withered, where innocence was crushed under the weight of power and cruelty. Hell. And in the middle of this hell she slept, so small, so fragile. Her tiny chest rose and fell with each breath, her face peaceful, unaware of the darkness that surrounded her. Can someone so fragile, so innocent, survive here? No. My jaw clenched as the weight of that truth settled in. She couldn't survive here. Not in this place. Not with me. She needed someone who could give her warmth. Something I could never give. Love. I could protect her from threats, spill blood for her, burn the world if I had to, but I couldn't give her the warmth that she needed to grow. But I knew, there's only one person who can. Narina. Yes. Her. Thean, I called, my voice low but firm. Summon Narina. Tell her it's urgent. Thean hesitated. I knew why. But Your Majesty. Thean's voice was cautious. Narina. The woman who had lost everything, her husband and child, swallowed by the flames of a merciless fire. Yet, despite her pain, she possessed a warmth that hadn't been extinguished. Perhaps that's why. I knew. There was no one better to care for her. And I was right. It's been weeks since I appointed Narina as her nanny, and just look at her now. Giggling. Wiggling in Narina's arms like she didn't have a care in the world. So, carefree. Oh, innocent. Was good. Too good. But this world doesn't allow innocence to survive. Not here. Not in this palace where blood stains the walls and betrayal lingers in the air. He needs to know. I can't let her grow up blind to the reality around her. She needs to realize what kind of world she's living in. A world where weakness means death. And to survive in a hell like this, she has to be strong. I'm taking her to the execution grounds, I said, my decision final. Her small gasp. Did she understand? Her tiny eyes widened, her little body tensed in my arms. She was too young to know, but did she sense it? Theon, Narina, and everyone else begged me not to take her. It will traumatize her, they said. As if I didn't know that. Do they think I'm a fool? I know what taking her to the execution grounds means. I know it's cruel. But cruelty is the only truth in this world. And I'd rather she sees it now, from my arms, than experience it alone when it's too late. She needs to see what her real home is. But I hesitated. Could I really let her witness the brutality? Could I let her see heads roll on the ground, blood staining the dirt? But then, she made that expression. Those eyes. As if she was telling me, take me. Was I imagining things? Was I thinking too much? Maybe. But the way she stared at me with that strange curiosity. I had no choice. That's why I took her to the execution ground. I thought that seeing a barren, dead place like the execution ground would make her cry. Make her afraid. But instead, she looked at the blade like she had never seen such an interesting object in her life. The blade glinted under the scorching sun, and the scent of iron hung heavy in the air. Yet her gaze never wavered, eyes locked on the steel as though it held no power over her. Is it because it's shining? I couldn't help but stare at her. This small child who barely knew the world was more fascinated than frightened. And then, they arrived. The ungrateful maids. The guards. Those who dared to neglect her, leaving her weak and starving. Now they had the audacity to beg Lavinia, my daughter, for mercy. Fools. Did they think a mere baby could spare them? Thistle. I looked at her. What expression would she make? And when I did, come. Her gaze was steady, her tiny lips pursed, her expression, as if she were saying, you deserve it. Not a hint of fear. And then the first execution began. And her tiny eyes watched. She didn't blink. The blade was about to fall. Blood was about to splatter across the ground. Oh, he can't see this. That's why I turned her toward me, shielding her small face from the horror. That's enough. We're leaving. Everyone sighed in relief around me. But she protested. Her small hands pushed against me, her tiny body wriggling as if she wanted to see. She's not scared. Why? Is it because she's my daughter? Yes. That's right. She's my daughter. My blood. And my blood can never be scared of anything. Not even death. I can already see it. My daughter will grow strong. So strong that maybe one day she'll be the one to drive a blade through my heart. Just as I did to my own father for this mere throne. That's why. I can't love her. I can't show her affection. I can't let her grow attached. Because if she loves me, it will hurt her to kill me. And she must not hesitate. If the day comes when she must claim the throne, she should do it without mercy. That's what I decided. I shouldn't love her. But he broke the wall I built. She shattered it the day she cried, like the heavens were about to tear apart. Narina tried to calm her, but Lavinia wouldn't stop. Her tiny hands, wiggling, reaching towards me, thought she was sick. I summoned every healer in the Empire, desperate to find a cure. But then, Your Majesty, Narina's voice was hesitant. I think the princess wants you. What? No, impossible. He wants me. Narina must be wrong. He has to be. But then, her tiny hands wouldn't stop reaching toward me. Wiggling, trembling as if she was calling me. Calling me. I didn't want to believe it. But I held her. I hoped, prayed, that Narina was wrong. But the moment she was in my arms, silence. Like she had never cried. Come. She just wanted me. Not Narina. Not Morella. Not Theon. Just me. And in that moment, when her tiny arms clung to me, her face pressed against my chest, it felt like she was declaring to the world, I am her father. And she had accepted me. That's right. I am her father. Even if, one day she drives a blade through my heart, I will die happily for her. For my daughter. Until then, I will love her. Protect her with everything I have. If anyone dares to touch her, I will kill them. Right there. On the spot. No matter who they are. No matter how high their status. Even if they're a noble. If anyone dares to lay a finger on my daughter, they will die. And that day, I became my daughter's only family. Her father. But I also wanted the world to see who she was. To know who they should bow to. That's right. This empire needs to bow before my daughter. They need to respect her. And on the day of her introduction ceremony, I showed the world my daughter. My heir. The future ruler. My daughter, Lavinia Devereux. I wanted to show the world how adorable my baby is. Especially to him, Grand Duke Regis. The one I grew up with. The one who is standing in between the crowd. See, I have a baby too. That bastard always blabbered on about his son Osric. How Osric crawled toward him for the first time. How he took his first steps with his tiny toes. How he called him Daddy for the first time. Whenever Regis spoke of these things, I was annoyed. I wish I could raise my sword at him. But all I could say was, nonsense. But now, deep down, I wanted to experience that too. I wanted to see Lavinia's first steps. I wanted to hear her first words. I wanted her to call me Daddy, Papa, Father. Whatever she preferred. I wanted to be the first. But that damn assassin maid. She stole that moment from me. First she dared to try to assassinate my daughter. Then Lavinia's first walk was not out of joy. It was out of fear. I wanted to see her first walk. I had trained her every morning how to walk, and that got on my nerves. I wanted to kill everyone who stood in my way. How dare they steal my daughter's first step? They had to pay. Everyone had to pay. So I killed them. All of them. Everyone involved in letting that assassin step into the royal palace. I killed them on the spot. Blood splattered all over me. I wanted to hold Lavinia. But I was covered in blood. She will be disgusted or scared if she sees me like that. I didn't deserve to touch her. I reeked of blood. I couldn't let my daughter see how merciless her father was. Oh, I can't. Take Lavinia back, I ordered, my voice cold, refusing to look at her. I couldn't let her see this side of me. But then, Pa. What? I froze. Did she just call me Papa? No. I must have heard wrong. But then, Pa. She called me my daughter. Her first words were for me. He called me Papa. And that's why. Declare a national holiday. That's what my daughter deserves. A celebration across the entire empire. But those foolish nobles. They had the audacity to come and persuade me to rethink it. How dare they? My daughter called me Papa. Isn't that reason enough to celebrate? But since they insisted, I allowed the celebration to last for just 3 weeks. Damn. I wish I could have declared a whole month of festivities. My daughter's first words deserved nothing less. And then one evening, as Nerina was putting Lavinia to sleep, I overheard Morella and Nerina whispering. Is it true? Morella's voice was soft, barely above a murmur. That babies tend to forget people if they don't see them for too long? Forget. My ears sharpened. Nerina's answer came, her tone calm but laced with certainty. That's right, she said quietly. They do. Their brains are still developing. And during that process, if they don't see the same people around them, they may forget them. Morella sighed softly, her hand brushing Lavinia's hair gently. Then we must stay close to our princess. Forget. That means if I don't stay by her side, my daughter might forget me? Oh, I cannot let that happen. I must stay near her. Always. Never leave her side. But I have to leave her now. The western provinces are stirring with unrest again. Merchants and fools constantly causing problems, and I'm the only one who can handle this mess. I have to go. Damn it. I shouldn't have been an emperor. Now I stand at the gates of the royal palace. Lavinia's tiny hands clutch at my robe, not letting me go. Her small, trembling fingers curl tighter, her eyes wide and pleading. Pa. He's so cute. So small. So fragile. And yet, she's holding on to me like she's afraid I'll disappear. My heart clenches. But I can't stay. Not this time. I wish I could take her with me. Keep her close. Protect her. But I cannot. This journey is dangerous. And all I can do now is hope. Hope that my daughter, my baby, doesn't forget me. The cold winter air nipped at my cheeks, making them pink as I snuggled deeper into the warmth of Papa's arms. His hold was firm, protective, and oh so warm, like a living fortress keeping the cold away. The carriage stood ready at the palace gates, the imperial crest gleaming under the pale morning light. The horses shifted restlessly, their breaths puffing out in misty clouds, almost like they were as anxious as I felt. Snow dusted the ground, a thin, delicate layer that crunched softly with every step of the nights nearby. Everything was so quiet. Almost too quiet. I was bundled up in so many blankets that I looked like a tiny, overstuffed dumpling. Nanny had insisted I wouldn't feel even a whisper of cold, and she was right. The soft wool kept me warm, but it couldn't stop the chill that settled deep inside. Because Papa felt different. His expression was calm, perfectly composed like always. That same unreadable look that made grown men tremble. But I could feel it. Even if his face didn't show it, even if his posture was as steady as ever. Papa was sad. A strange, heavy feeling clung to him, like a shadow that wouldn't leave. His arms, though still warm, weren't holding me as tightly as usual. His heart, which I loved to hear thumping softly when I rested against his chest, seemed heavier. I peeked up at him, my tiny fingers peeking out from the blanket to lightly touch his jaw. I knew what this meant. Papa is leaving for the western provinces. Papa stood rigid as always, and Grand Duke Regis stood beside him, his ever-serious face locked in that same unreadable mask. But after spending a year in Papa's care, I could tell. There was tension beneath that calm. Papa's grip on me was just a little tighter, his thumb brushing over my cheek, his large cloak shielding me from the cold. He doesn't want to leave me behind, I know. So I clutched his shirt tighter with my tiny chubby hands, feeling the smooth fabric bunch up under my fingers. I wasn't letting go. No way. If I let go, he's really going to leave. But then reality smacked me in the face. I know I can't actually stop him. He's not just my papa, he's the freaking emperor. I may have the brain of an adult, but I'm currently 1 year old and have the strength of a marshmallow. So I can't stop him physically or emotionally. Still, my grip tightened, my tiny fingers balling up his shirt like a desperate little koala. I buried my face against his chest, inhaling the familiar scent of him, clean, crisp, and warm, like a safe place I didn't want to lose. Logic screamed from time to time that this was unavoidable. Papa had to go. The western provinces were unstable, and his presence was necessary to maintain order. But I don't want him to go. Papa didn't say anything. He didn't have to, because his eyes spoke everything. His gloved hand brushed over my golden curls in a comforting motion. It should have calmed me, but instead I felt the finality in it. It's time for him to leave. But I didn't feel good. My first life as Reina Suzuki had been lonely. Forgotten. A life where I had no one. And I didn't want my life as Lavinia Devereux to end up the same way. And I definitely can't trust my fate here. Because Lavinia's original fate is to end up being alone, and I don't want that to happen. What if he changes when he comes back? What if this is the last time he holds me like this? Papa kissed my forehead gently before turning to Theon and my nanny. You know what you have to do. Theon nodded with his usual easygoing smile. Don't worry, Your Majesty. We'll take good care of our princess. Papa gave a slight nod, and then I felt his hold loosen slightly. Oh. My grip tightened. Papa. I murmured softly, my voice barely audible. Papa froze in mid-step. His crimson eyes flickered down at me, hesitation flashing across his face. I wiggled in midair as he hesitated, but then he sighed and, gasp, actually handed me over to Nanny. I blinked up at him, my red eyes glistening with unshed tears. I wasn't trying to manipulate him. Well, not completely, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Papa. I reached my tiny hands toward him, my face full of emotion. Papa exhaled and kissed my forehead again. I will be back soon. And then, he turned his back to me. Wait. He started walking away. Hold on. He got closer to the carriage. Wait. Are you seriously leaving me like this? He didn't even glance back. Not even once, and that's when something inside me shattered. Papa just turned his back on me. Just like that. Without even looking back. I don't like this. I felt my throat tighten, my tiny hands clenching into fists. I didn't want to cry, but the sight of him walking away just like that made something deep inside me feel small and scared. What if he never comes back? What if I end up alone again? My breath caught in my throat. My chest squeezed so tight it hurt. And then, wah. The wail that tore out of my mouth was completely instinctive. Raw, loud. The kind that could bring an entire empire to its knees. Papa flinched. I saw him flinch. But did he turn around? No. He stiffened like a board, his gloved hands clenching at his sides. For a brief moment he stood frozen. Thinking. Debating. Considering. And then, The Emperor Cassius stepped into the carriage. The door shut. The wheels started moving. And my cries only grew louder. Wah! Theon sighed, rubbing his forehead. I knew it was coming. Nanny tried rocking me gently. Now, princess. Wah! From the window of the carriage I swore I saw Papa's eye twitch. His crimson gaze was sharp and his fingers visibly curled into fists. Inside the carriage his jaw clenched as he stared out the window. His fingers tapped once. Twice. But he didn't look back. Even as the carriage disappeared from view, I kept crying, my tiny heart aching with a feeling I didn't quite know how to name. But I knew one thing for sure. I hated watching Papa walk away. And that's how Cassius Devereux, the mighty emperor of the Illyrian Empire, left his 1-year-old daughter, all alone. I cried so much that I don't even remember when I fell asleep. But now I regret it. Why, you ask? Because when I woke up, I thought I was dreaming. Oh, scratch that. I wished I was dreaming. My sleepy little eyes blinked open, expecting to see my cute bunnies, my fluffy pillows, and maybe, just maybe, some colorful toys to distract me from the fact that my Papa had left. But instead, Papa. Everywhere. I blinked once. Still there. I blinked twice. Nope. Still there. I rubbed my eyes, thinking maybe, just maybe, this was some weird sleep-deprived hallucination. But nope. When I opened them again it was worse. Because my nursery is filled with Papa's pictures. I mean, seriously. What the hell? I blinked, staring at the walls, trying to process the madness before me. Papa's face. Papa's face in a bigger frame. Papa looking regal. Papa looking slightly less regal but still brooding and scary. Papa with that cold, unreadable expression that probably makes grown men wet their pants. Papa everywhere. Even the ceiling wasn't safe. There was a tiny portrait of Papa staring down at me like, "Don't you dare forget me, little one." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. This wasn't just a normal princess nursery anymore. Are you freaking kidding me? When Papa told Theon and Nanny, "You know what you have to do," I thought they'd take care of me. Feed me. Bathe me. Sing me lullabies or whatever babies get in fantasy empires. Not this. I mean, what part of take care of her, translated to, fill her nursery with her father's intense glaring pictures like a damn shrine? And where are my toys? Every cute stuffed animal. Every colorful wooden block. Every fun little thing that made me forget I was stuck in a medieval empire with zero modern comforts? Gone. I get it. Papa was probably scared that I, his precious little girl, might forget him while he's away. But that doesn't mean he had to turn my nursery into a freaking gallery of himself. But this is too much. I was supposed to have fluffy bunnies and dolls. Not a Papa museum. In their place. Papa's serious face is judging me from every angle. And then, I let out a tiny, defeated sigh, my little cheeks puffing out in frustration. Of course. That's on me. I forgot for a second. My Papa isn't just any overprotective father. He's Cassius freaking Devereux. And he doesn't just do things halfway. He left me with his overwhelming, brooding presence plastered on every inch of my nursery so I wouldn't dare forget him. And just like that I realized, I might be Papa's precious little princess. But I was also the daughter of a man who definitely knows how to overdo things.